Got one word for you, Hugh, and it's movies.
Steven Spielberg, unprompted. That was my only interaction with Steven to date. But I still talk to him as if or talk about him as if we're on a first name basis, because pretty much.
Yes, of course. It's Steven.
Said Steven, what are you thinking? Giving Jurassic Park
You
up
know,
like this, Steven?
you didn't see Twisters, did you? The
I did not.
long-awaited
Long-awaited
Twister.
is that seems strong.
It's a little strong. I'll give you that. It's a little hyperbolic. But
Awaited in
Twisters was-
general seems like a strong term for a Twister
Oh, but
sequel.
the reason I bring it up is that Steven Spielberg was apparently the guy whose idea it was to have them not kiss at the end. Now, you have not seen the movie, but genuinely, the romance part of Twisters is the best part of the movie. Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar or something, whatever her name is, they have really good chemistry together. The CGI Twisters and all that spectacle. Oh, we got to run away from really fast wind. That stuff's all like, it's fine. But like the rom-com aspect of Twisters is genuinely the best part. And apparently Steven Spielberg was like, no, don't have them kiss at the end. It's more of like a friendship thing. Because we watched it, we're like, what? Why didn't they kiss at the end? That's so stupid. And then it turns out, Hugh, that they filmed a scene where they did and cut it.
Because Steven Spielberg said so?
Because Steven Spielberg said so. Well, I mean, he must not have been the only one who felt that way, but he was so wrong about that.
That's wild.
It's wild. Anyway, that's just a random Steven Spielberg L just to throw in there. He's got a pretty good batting average, but that one's a pretty big L in my opinion. Hello, fellow O-words. Hello, everyone in the chat. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to talk about a movie that I think there's a good chance a lot of you have not seen. I had not seen it until last night. And I think that's the same for you, right, Hugh?
I had not even heard of this movie until last night, Jamie. I had no idea what I was in for with this one. I asked Nikki who was in the movie, and she said Meryl Streep and that woman from Overboard. And I was like, oh, Kurt Russell. And that, but no, I had no idea that this movie was a thing. So that this was a wonderful moment, a little going in blind kind of thing for a Friday night movie or Saturday night movie.
Oh yeah. So we're going to talk about Death Becomes Her, which is a Robert Zemeckis film from 1992. So for those keeping track at home, that would be roughly in between, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future Part 2, and Forrest Gump. So like right in peak Robert Zemeckis time. So he clearly had sort of carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. And boy, did he in Death Becomes Her, which... we're watching this because it's Spooktober and because it's Halloween now, and we're going to talk about a spooky movie, first stream of the month. When we announced it last week, there was at least a couple comments that said, is this really a horror movie? I maintain that it technically is, that it is a horror comedy.
Yeah, in the same vein of like your Little Shop of Horrors kinds of movies. It actually felt very close. So I wasn't at all surprised to learn that it has been adapted into a musical now.
Yes.
And that musical is doing gangbusters with the theater gaze.
Oh yeah, not surprising. There'll be more to say about that in a bit. But yes, I'm going to say it right now. I really like Death Becomes Her. I really like this movie. And I do highly recommend it to anyone who has not seen it. We are going to spoil it, of course, as is, typical for us. We're going to talk about it in depth, in detail. But I do think if you did decide to listen to the whole stream and then go watch it, there would still be so much that us describing it can't properly communicate to you. The experience of seeing everything that we're about to describe actually happen on screen the way it happens on screen will still be fresh enough that I think you could have the movie spoiled for you and still really have an amazing experience watching this film. So that's my warning. If you don't want it spoiled, you should probably get out of here. But I think even if you do have it spoiled, you should still go check it out. That's my warning for you. Yeah, it feels
Yes.
like Beetlejuice. I think that's another accurate comparison, like Little Shop of Horrors, Beetlejuice. It is a wild, over the top, very, very, very stylized, gonzo, crazy, hilarious horror comedy about beauty, about everlasting life, and about women and why women are like that. So today we're going to talk about
Today
women.
we're going to try to get to the bottom of that question.
What are they up to? Why are they like that? It's, you know, for a movie as crazy, ridiculous, and silly and flat out bizarre as this movie is, I actually do think it's like really quite remarkably symbolically coherent. I think
Yeah,
it really we're on theme the whole time. For a movie as outrageous as this is, we're like laser focused on one theme for like the whole movie. It's pretty impressive, actually. So it's Death Becomes Her is a star-studded film, I guess you could say. At least all the main characters
big
are
stars,
very
yeah.
famous people. Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, as you can see on stream, Isabella Rossellini plays a small part as well. And everyone gets to be so goofy in this movie. Genuinely, like, so Bruce Willis has been in comedic performances and comedic movies before, but this is one of my favorite Bruce Willis performances of all time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Watching him
so
in this
fun.
movie, I was kind of convinced that the part had been written for Rick Moranis originally, based on pretty much everything that he's doing. And then the more I thought about it and the more we talked about it, I think I might have determined that, like, maybe it wasn't written for Rick Moranis. It's just that Bruce Willis brought the Rick Moranis type acting to his role in this one.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it's perfect for what
Yeah.
what they're going for. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah, so I guess before we get into any sort of more detailed descriptions of the plot and all that sort of fun stuff, Hugh, why don't you give us your overall take on the film? What do you think of it?
I think it's a lot of fun. I agree with you pretty much 100%. A lot of fun, very symbolically coherent, has a lot of just like a lot of great depth brought to it by its actors. Meryl Streep is giving some wild performances in this movie as well. I mean, Goldie Hawn does great. I love Bruce Willis in this movie. I think that it's well edited. A lot of the comedic editing just really hits for me. And you know, really, I think it's a perfect gay movie, Jamie. I think it's a queer icon of cinema. Yeah. So yeah,
you should explain to the people in chat. Yeah.
So I was doing a little bit of research before we hopped on here this morning because, like I said, I'd never even heard of this movie until last night when we went to turn it on, and I googled, you know, just Death Becomes Her, and one of Google's most asked questions is why is Death Becomes Her a queer classic? And the reasoning, according to Google, this is Google's AI overview, that it is considered a queer classic due to its celebration of camp, over-the-top theatricality, and the archetypal portrayal of catty, rivalrous women, with its social commentary on societal obsession with youth and beauty, all of which are resonant with LGBTQ plus audiences and drag culture.
No. Okay.
Yeah, like let's talk about this. So what this is essentially saying, and I do believe I would buy that the gay community embraces this movie because they see themselves in Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn. I could buy that 100%.
We like in the biz we call that a self-report. That's what we call that.
A little self-snitching going on here because I did see another comment about, you know, what the takeaways from this movie are, and one of the primary ones is that women are often victimized by the societal obsession with youth and beauty. We punish women for aging, is what the message of this movie
Yeah, right.
appears to have been for some of
Yeah,
the people.
you're right.
Some of the same people who are calling everybody else media illiterate online are peddling this nonsense about how this movie is about a poor woman victimized by society's obsession with young and beautiful women, as she can't keep up with it as she ages. That's not that is not what I took away from this movie at all. I would go so
Oh,
far as to say that that is not what this movie is about. Not even
no.
a little bit.
No, this movie gives those characters agency, actually. So that their obsession with youth and beauty and living forever and staying young and beautiful for all time, that's actually part of their character, and it's not a good thing. But yes, death becomes her. The strangest thing about this movie is, and the reason I call it a cult classic in the thumbnail and underrated in the description, is because people don't really talk about it ever. One little subtle way that I noticed that like a movie is not very popular is that it's hard to find high resolution images of it online, and that affects me when I'm trying to make thumbnails and stream backgrounds. Um, but like you can tell, there's just not really the same sort of interest in this movie as a lot of other movies. And one of the first comments we got in the chat from Andrew Lindsay says that in the description you say that it's underrated, but I thought it was universally beloved. Well, Andrew, this movie is not universally beloved. In fact, it's got pretty poor reviews in general, which I find baffling. We're going to talk about them.
We'll get into that for sure.
On IMDb, it has really quick. IMDb has like a 6.7 out of 10 user rating. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 58%. That's rotten for anyone keeping track at home from critics, and only a 62 from audience members. This is a panned film by critics, as we will discuss in due time. I think that's insane.
The namesakes of our icons, Siskel and Ebert, both gave Death Becomes Her thumbs downs back in the day.
Yeah, what the hell? That's ridiculous.
It lacks any real substance or character depth, was their reasoning.
No, okay. All right. Here's what I think I know what's happening here. Is that there's a certain number of people who watch this movie who resent that they saw themselves depicted in it. I think that's a better description. I mean, certainly the movie is very, very over the top. The characters are very kind of heightened and exaggerated, right? But this movie paints a very unflattering picture of a specific type of female obsession with beauty and youth and living forever and not aging, and everyone loving them and being envious of them and all that sort of stuff, right? Like, these characters are not very sympathetic. Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep's characters, that is, they're not very sympathetic in the slightest. And I think some people resent. like, I don't know how you can say that. I think this movie understands them psychologically very well, actually. So I don't think you can say that this movie doesn't really have any depth, or that this movie is a hollow critique at all. I just think it's over the top and silly.
Yeah, that
is not the same
hollow critique seems to be the main focus point of the detractors of the film. That they think that the satire is not effective. It's hollow. One of them,
hollow and cruel. Let's read some of them. Actually, we're talking about it. So these are negative reviews. All right, this is from New York Magazine. The target of the movie's jokes is female vanity, but since Zemeckis exhibits not a trace of affection for the actresses, in parentheses, or of any of the men either, one feels humiliated merely watching his crude, spirited wit. The movie's too mean, guys. The movie is too mean to the female characters. We're not allowed to do that.
Okay, well, there's the misogynist one, as Georgius Rex would say. I assume people call it misogynist. That would be that's interesting. That some people dislike it because they believe it's misogynist, while a bunch of gay women think that this is a perfect representation of them because it nails their character. So
someone from the Orlando Sentinel writes, "This new horror comedy has to be one of the most heartless mainstream pictures ever made."
what?
That's insane. That is an insane thing to say. But it's too mean. It's the same criticism essentially, except with the added hyperbole of calling it the most heartless movie ever made. I actually think, especially in the end, there is kind of like the ending for Bruce Willis's character is actually not cruel and heartless at all.
Yeah, that's
You know,
so that is interesting because there was a different version of it.
Which also isn't heartless, I would say.
Yeah, but they like the reason why they decided not to do the original version of the ending, right?
I hear that because it wasn't funny.
No, it was because it was too happy. They felt that the
That's
original.
not what I.
Hold on, let me.
That's not what I heard.
Hold on, let me see.
That's Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn. Okay. Eventually,
here we
we'll
go.
spoil
Right
it.
here. The two women encounter Ernest and the bartender, Tracy Ullman, who helps him fake his death to evade the two women by the end of the. This is the older ending. They encounter Ernest and his bartender wife 27 years later, living happily as a retired couple. Madeline and Helen give no sign they are enjoying their eternal existence. Zemeckis thought the ending was too happy, so he opted for the darker ending featured in the final cut.
I don't think that's a fair description of either ending. I think, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Because the movie does end happily for Ernest, just not Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn's characters, because they never learn their lesson.
Yes.
That's part of the joke. It ends on a joke because it's a very funny movie. I think this movie's hysterical. I laughed so hard watching it. I'm a huge fan, and it's funny because it's a funny movie that isn't just full of jokes. There's all sorts of like physical subtleties in people's performances and the way the camera moves that are hilarious, even if like nothing funny is even being said. Meryl Streep just gives a look that's funny, like wall to wall. This movie is pretty hysterical. I'm a big fan of it, and to call it the most heartless movie ever made just reads to me like someone is a little butthurt that it made fun of women too much. Like that, I don't know how else to describe it. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're going to keep reading these reviews because I think they're funny. So, if there was something resembling genuine satire of human behavior beyond the simple pretext for fancy special effects and relentless sadism, I might have found some of this funny.
What?
For those who have not seen the movie, describing this as relentlessly sadistic is kind of crazy.
That's
a crazy thing.
That's kind of wild.
It's just a dark comedy. That's all it is. It's just a dark comedy about really self-absorbed people who don't really have any moral scruples. It's not really that sadistic. Yeah. Let's see if there's any other good ones, any gems before we actually start to talk about the plot.
Well, I have one a quote from Tom Campbell, an executive producer of RuPaul's Drag Race, reflecting on the appeal of the movie to gay audiences. If you're interested in that. So this is like from the mouthpiece of the community, you could say themselves. They, being Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep's characters, are fighting for beauty. They're against the system. They're also villains, but we understand their complexity.
Oh, shut up.
We root for the undead divas because they're trying to win a game that's rigged against them, and to borrow an apocryphal quote from Ginger Rogers, they sort of have to do it backwards and in high heels.
These people are delusional, man. There is no system forcing them to be single-minded in their obsession with being envied for their beauty. No one is forcing them to do that. All right?
Yeah.
That doesn't appear in the movie. That's such an odd projection. Also, first of all, I don't know why this keeps happening, but this is such a consistent pattern now that I feel like it's unavoidable. We got to talk about it. Why do so many gay activists always identify with the villains? Something to think about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I'm sure I don't know.
Death becomes her.
So the thing with Death
yes.
becomes her, right? And one of the things that like there's drives me nuts about this kind of like read on it, right? Is that like the system is not the villain. This is not the substance where they deliberately set it up, this cartoonishly evil system that works against the the patriarchy of show business that works against the main character, right? They haven't set that up in this movie. The reason that the two undead divas, as he puts it, are fighting against anything, the natural law and order, that, the reason that they're obsessed with age, youth, and beauty is because they're bad people.
Yes.
That's why. Yeah. And the movie is pretty clear about that they are bad people, and that is why this obsession, because this is all they have. They don't have good moral character to fall back on. No. They are just shitty people.
Yeah. And to sort of describe the basic premise for people who haven't seen it, the basic premise of the movie is that there's a lot of time jumping in the film, but basically we follow Meryl Streep's character, whose name is Madeline Ashton. Right?
Yes.
And Goldie Hawn's character, whose name is Helen Sharp. So Madeline and Helen Madeline and Helen have been friends for a very long time, but I think a better word is frenemy, right?
Yes.
They kind of hate each other. Madeline has for many years has been stealing Helen's boyfriends and even husbands from her, right? This has been a continuous pattern in their life that Madeline keeps stealing, mostly just to sabotage her. That's what Helen believes. Helen believes that Madeline is stealing her boyfriends on purpose just to spite her, right? And we will eventually learn that that's true. Is like when they were kids, Madeline, Meryl Streep's character, was rather poor. I think white trash is mentioned once, and she wasn't invited to like all her like family gatherings and stuff like that at Helen's house because they thought that Madeline was cheap and white trash. And so Madeline took that personally and just sort of built up all sorts of resentment and animosity towards Helen over the years, while still pretending to be her friend, and continued to steal her boyfriends just to spite her for years. So these two hate each other, but kind of pretend that they're friends. I think there's a lot of people that resent that depiction as well. Who they Helen is about to marry Bruce Willis's character, whose name is Ernest, right?
Yes.
And so as a test, before they get married, she wants to introduce Ernest to Madeline to see if he'll pass the test. And he doesn't pass the test. He falls in love with Madeline, who is, of course, all over him and trying to seduce him. And Ernest ends up marrying Madeline, which sends Helen into like a spiral.
A depressive spiral.
A depressive spiral where she ends up in a loony bin, where she ends up incredible, like in a giant fat suit, like Ben Stiller at the end of Dodgeball. Like it's the same bit essentially. She loses her mind and becomes a crazy
fucking
fat
Chuck
person,
Norris.
right?
Yeah, she becomes a crazy, great big fat person, and
yeah.
And
so
she spends her days like scooping mayonnaise out of a jar and eating it with her fingers, or ice cream.
Living with a bunch of cats.
And rewatching the scenes from movies where Madeline is brutally strangled.
Yes, so Madeline is an actress. So Helen spends her days after Madeline has stolen her husband and is living this glamorous life while she's spiraling into a crazy fat cat lady. She's watching on repeat scenes from Madeline's movies and TV shows where her character is killed just to get the satisfaction of watching her die. And then she eventually gets the idea, like, you know what? Enough is enough. I have to kill Madeline. And so she starts hatching a plan to get revenge and to kill her and to break up their marriage and all that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, Madeline is in an unhappy marriage with Ernest. And she's also, her beauty is starting to crack and to fade, right? So she is, she's been getting all sorts of Botox and like blood plasma surgeries and all sorts of crazy stuff to keep up her beauty and her youth, right? And eventually she's approached by someone not unlike the substance who says like, there's a super secret special person I can refer you to. She's very exclusive, but she can really help you. So eventually Madeline will go to Isabella Rossellini's character, whose name I also forget.
Liesel von Rumen.
What a strange name. And she is given a special magical, like phosphorescent pink serum that halts aging entirely. It thwarts the natural law and halts aging entirely, like sort of causes her to regain some of her beauty and then kind of locks that in place forever. Right. So she doesn't revert to 20 or anything, but her skin gets a little nicer. Things get more plump, I suppose you could say. And then she's kind of locked into that forever. So it's it's the fountain of youth. It's a beauty serum. It's all that sort of stuff. And so we will eventually learn that Helen also got that. But basically the rest of the plot involves their sort of petty revenge arc against each other, Helen and Madeline. And so it's so funny. We'll get into more specifics, but they never learn the lessons.
No, like the main lesson that they learn is very shallow. By the end of it, right? Is like
sorry, I remember where I was going with this. So eventually they like literally get to the point where they're actually out and out fighting each other with shovels of all things. And they eventually conclude that, you know what? Like, you're right. I admit I was stealing your husband's on purpose to spite you. And I did it because I held this petty grudge from when we were kids and you thought of me as like cheap and lower class, and I never forgot it. Once they actually air those things out, they're like best friends again, quote unquote, but they still hate each other. You know what I mean? Like the relationship, like they're just dad people who have allowed themselves to become absolutely like wretched, degenerate people because they held on to petty grievances and grudges and envies and all that, and jealousy and all that sort of stuff for years and years, and it just built up and built up until like the worst people imaginable, essentially. And at that point, it's basically too late for them to learn any real lessons.
Exactly. And the lesson that they do end up learning and taking away from they beat each other, into pulps, cartoonish pulps with the shovels. And then they sit down to, sort of sort it all out. And the conclusion that they come to is maybe we should just make up because we're both going to be beautiful and immortal forever now. So we really just need to work on making sure that we stay young and beautiful. And the best way to do this is to make up with Ernest as well. So it just, their takeaway is, you're right. It's not about anger between the two of us. It's just about our vanity. That's the lesson that they learn from the end.
Yeah. But it's ultimately, the movie has a more poignant message than that. It even presents it directly to them from the mouth of a priest, and they go like, whatever. Like, it's a very funny ending. So it's to call it, like, to circle back, this movie was panned by a lot of critics because they thought the movie was too mean to women, essentially. There's really no other way to describe it, because if you look at this movie objectively, the filmmaking here is absolutely fucking stellar. I love the way this movie looks, all these wide angle lenses and like the lighting and all these exaggerated camera movements and these long oneers, and like there's so much happening here. It's like Robert Zemeckis at his best in terms of like filmmaking prowess. The acting performances are incredible. The jokes are legitimately really, really funny. There's a lot of fun twists and turns in the plot. There's a great sort of like, be careful what you wish for sort of message about, wishing for youth and beauty forever and all that sort of stuff. We actually do sort of explore, criticisms of like the want and the desire to live forever and immortality and all that sort of fun stuff. and it manages to be really, really silly the whole time. It's
Yes.
a really impressive movie, actually. I would say that, like, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the movie, I was like, "I love this movie," and then by the end, I was like, "I really like it."
Yeah.
There are criticisms I have, and I think there's some parts that drag a little bit, where it's, like, not clear where the plot is going for a bit because it seems to have sort of resolved itself, and you're like, "Okay, where do we go now? Oh, okay, I see where we're going now." There's some things like that. The pacing's a little strange. It takes a little while to really get going. You know what I mean? Because we have a lot of ground to cover in terms of the long time span of this relationship, right? But once it gets cooking, man, this movie's hilarious. Big fan. So I think this movie is criminally underrated. This is easily a 7 or 8 out of 10 for me. You should go check it out if you haven't. We're gonna start talking about specifics and spoilers now. So go away if you don't want that.
Yeah, and I would say that like not knowing anything about it coming into it, right? It's a very it's a very wild ride. It goes in a lot of places that like. I did not I did not know what to expect based on the title. I had no idea there that I knew that there was going to be some kind of like weird spook kind of thing going on, but I had no idea
Mm.
it was going to venture into this sort of like zombie beauty black comedy satire thing. And
Yeah.
it just keeps, especially in the like the second act, it just really keeps you on your toes. It's moving at a relentless kind of pace, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So definitely easy recommend from me as well.
All right. So the movie opens with a performance from Meryl Streep's character, Madeline Ashton,
Yeah, and we
in a
immediately
new.
learn that her career is on the decline, right? Because they're at a Broadway
Yes.
theater, very campily designed, almost like Danny Elfman Gotham kind of thing, Tim
Mhm.
Burton Gotham kind of
Oh,
setup.
great music by Alan Silvestri in this film.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible. That's Robert Zemeckis' guy. But I really love the music in this. I was humming it for a while afterwards last night. It's great. Big fan.
Yeah, and it lends itself very well, I think. So it immediately from the get go, I kind of go like, oh, okay, so like they definitely turned this into a musical, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it opens with a musical performance. It's not a great like yeah, and people are walking out just from the beginning, and they're saying things like, "Oh, Madeline Ashton, talk about raising the dead," because her
Yes.
career is on the decline, and she's never been, as we'll see in the scene where Goldie Hawn watches her be strangled in the Michael Caine movie that she was, ostensibly a
Mhm.
part of. She's a terrible fucking actress. She's
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
really bad.
It's not good. Yeah, which is also funny. And, yeah, and like, just it's a subtle thing, but there are so many things like it in the film. So, like, Madeline Ashton talk about raising the dead. There are so many things they could have said there to highlight the fact that, like, her career is on the decline, people don't really like her, but that's so, like, thematically relevant also. It's just, little details
Yeah.
like that. Really, really satisfying.
And
Meryl Streep can really sing, assuming they didn't dub her. I don't think they dubbed her.
no,
I think
she's
she was.
pretty talented actually. She's in the Mamma Mia movies too, and that's actually her singing in those. So she
Yeah.
does have
In
a
this,
pretty good voice.
the performance is, like, fine, in terms of her musical theater. It's not great. I think
Yeah.
one minor criticism I have is that her performance in this opening musical number is not so bad that people would be walking out. You know what I mean? I think it could have been a little worse. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, it could have been
But
more like MJ from Spider-Man 3.
yeah, yeah. Could have been a little comedically worse, I would say. But that's a minor point because everyone's walking out, right? And this is, oh my God, there's this huge oneer, right? Because we start in zoomed in or Meryl Streep's face on stage, and we slowly pull out over the course of the entire number until we're over the audience. And then we see that people are leaving, and the camera slowly swings around till it lands on Bruce Willis, Ernest, and Goldie Hawn as Helen, thank
Helen.
you. Helen. Um, and we see that Ernest is the only one who's really into it.
Yes.
He's like
Very into it.
wow, she's incredible. He's clapping like a seal. Like he's huge into it and wants to go meet her afterwards, much to Helen's horror. So they go to meet backstage, right? And there's just like little subtle things that Meryl Streep does that are so funny. So her assistant comes in like, "Oh, there's someone who wants to meet you," right? It's Helen and some guys with her. We don't know who. So she's like, "Okay, send them in." And then the assistant goes to open the door, but right before she does, how can I describe this? Meryl Streep kind of like practices the surprise at seeing her. She goes like, and then she stops and she gives it another try. She goes, and then she's like, "Okay, open the door." She opens
She
the door.
also
She's like,
rearranges
"Oh
her
my God."
robe so that her tits are
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
Deliberately.
Exactly. Yeah, she's like, like the vanity is like just there from the very beginning. It's so like, and like Meryl Streep is a very, very, very good actress, and this is probably the funniest performance I've ever seen her in. She's really good at comedy. Like
Oh
I
my,
think she does a lot
there's
of
one
great
moment
stuff.
later on that I just like I wanted to try to find a sound clip of it because it's when she goes to get the potion, right? And the Isabella Rossellini pricks her finger, and the way she says "ow," because like it later on it's gonna happen to Bruce Willis and he's just gonna go like "ah," like give a normal kind of like reaction to it. But the way Meryl Streep does it is like a cat being strangled. It's like
Yeah.
she goes like "ow." It's
Yeah.
so
Like,
over the top and
like
crazy, and it like
it's
I had
so
to
over the
rewind
top.
it a couple times just to hear it again. I
Yeah.
was laughing so hard.
Like this is what everything about this movie is funny. You know what I mean? It's not just the jokes and the dialogue. Like the set designs are funny. Like the way it's edited, the camera angles are funny. The timing of certain like over the top lighting cues are funny. Like it's just it's great. It's so great. Anyway, so Helen introduces her husband to Meryl Streep's character, and I'm gonna struggle with their names.
It's Mad in
And
Hell, as Jen points out.
Mad in Hell, yes. And so he is smitten with her. Ernest is smitten with her right away, and Helen is not very happy about it. And of course, Madeline is like playing it up, and she's like all over him and everything like that.
And there's an ulterior motive as well. It's not just because Madeline is obsessively taking Helen's boyfriends or fiancés in this case, because they are engaged at this point, Bruce Willis and
Yes.
Goldie Hawn. But she finds out too that he's a plastic surgeon, one of the best plastic surgeons in the country, doing like pretty remarkable work in that realm. And
Yeah.
that also immediately like she kind of sees a means to exploit that, because we know she's, as we've seen her in this setting, in this dressing room, she's like obsessed over the wrinkles near her eyes and everything. So like not only is she doing this to try to seduce a boyfriend away from Helen, but she sees an opportunity to marry a successful and famous plastic surgeon who can maybe give her what she wants as well, right? So
Yes.
there's layers to it, which I think is nice.
Oh yeah, there's even a fun little bit of dialogue. I'll see if I can find it exactly. But it's like, "Oh, Ernest Menville, the plastic surgeon." It's like, "Yeah, you were so terrific." And she says like, "Oh, I've read all about you." And she says, "Do you what does she say? It's something like, "Tell me, doctor, do you think that I'm starting to need you?" And she says it in a way that's almost like a double entendre for like, needing him sexually and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. It works. There's layers to it. I like it. It's great. And then so basically immediately after that, we find out that Helen is very upset with him. Like this was a test essentially on Helen's part, to test that if he was going to pass the Madeline test and like whether he was going to fall for her. And she's upset with him because he seemed smitten, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, or like, don't be ridiculous. I am like, I'm not going to marry Madeline Ashton." And then we cut to 7 years later, and they're getting married. like immediately.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bits of editing for
Oh yeah.
editing comedy for this. Like I do not have a Madeline Ashton thing, and then it cuts away and like boom, there it is. Yep, he sure does.
Yeah. They're getting married, and then we check in on Helen, and Helen is in the fat suit now. She's in her like small apartment with like 40 cats, and it's a giant mess, and she's fat, and she's like eating mayonnaise or whatever it is she's eating, and she's watching Madeline being strangled on the TV. And then the landlord is knocking on the door, like, "Hello, Helen, like, come on, I have your eviction notice." And she's just not responding at all. She like turns up the volume on the TV. And then like the police are there as well, and they're like, "Come on, open up." And then they bust into the room to like take her away. And she's still like her eyes are glued to the TV, and she keeps rewinding it so she can watch Helen be strangled again. And then like right as she's about to be pulled away from the door frame, and so she can't see the TV anymore, she kind of like grabs onto the door frame to like hold on to see that final moment where like Madeline in her like really bad soap opera performance, like the life leaves her and she smiles and then she gets dragged away. It's great.
It is. It's
Great.
hilarious.
Goldie Hawn is really funny in this movie. Everyone's really funny in this movie, but like, it's so funny. So then Helen is now in like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? She's in a a semicircle with a bunch of other patients in a mental hospital, and they're like, "Helen, do you want to talk today?" And she's like, "Yes, I want to talk about Madeline Ashton." And everyone freaks out. They're like, "Oh my God, stop! Like, shut up! No, we don't want to hear you talk about her anymore." But like the way they overreact, all these other mental patients, is really hysterical. They're like shrieking and crying and like throwing chairs over. It like totally destroys the peace and calm. It's really funny. And so she has like a one-on-one with her therapist, and they're like, 6 months of therapy, and you're not 1 pound lighter. So oh, I always love a good bit of fat shaming in movies.
Bring it back. We can
Bring,
bring back fat shaming.
and they're like you gotta move on. You gotta
She's
stop
giving like
talking about.
the therapist is also giving some great like what other errands you got us running for the DA kind of
Wait a minute.
performances.
Wait a minute. Stream unavailable. Stream suspended for policy violations.
Oh, what?
What?
We detected video belonging to someone else.
Did it cancel? Did it end the stream, or are we still live?
I don't know. It still says live on my end, but it's saying.
Will you switch back to the intro?
All right.
We're no longer being blocked?
I've got it. Yeah, it says your stream is no longer being blocked due to copyright issues.
Okay.
All right, we're back. I see us back again. There we are. All right. The anti-copyright Isabella Rossellini banishing YouTube's bullshit with her.
This is I think only ever happened to us once before, and that was in that first year of Oscar streams. So apparently YouTube does not want us to show you the trailer to Death Becomes Her. Now typically YouTube will be like, "Hey, we noticed that you have a trailer in your thing, so you can't monetize it." And then I have to go in and be like, "Hey, this is obviously fair use," and then they lift it. But it's very rare that they actually try to block the stream because we're showing the trailer in the background with a copyright symbol over it. So that's new. Sorry about that. Hello, friends. We're back.
Yeah, that's a strange one. We can have the still frame of Isabella Rossellini, no problem. But the trailer with the big copyright.
The trailer, apparently not. Okay, apparently they're very. I hope that's not a regular thing going forward.
Let's hope not. That would be very annoying.
That would be very annoying. Okay.
But
anyway,
then again, so like maybe it's the fact that this movie is like getting a lot more. So Jen earlier mentioned like maybe this movie is going to have a renaissance, and I would say that the fact that it is available or is becoming a musical, I think is pretty much evidence already that it's going to
make a little bit of a comeback. But I don't understand. Do you think someone manually? I don't. They didn't give us any indication that someone manually said, "Hey, they're streaming my content." I think it's just an automatic thing.
Yeah, probably. I
So I
mean,
hope
it
that's
probably
not
just
a thing
detect
going
maybe they
forward.
like well maybe the company, the production company, whoever it is, right, that like bought the rights or whatever, maybe they're the ones who
I
put a
don't know.
thing out. I don't know
Whatever.
how
All
this
right.
works.
It's fine. We're back now. Hopefully that's not too much of a problem going forward. I think I'll just cut that part. I can just cut that part out uh, when we're done live. Anyway, that was weird, but we're still here. We're still talking about movies. It's just we won't show the trailer on screen anymore.
Just to be
I
safe,
don't.
we'll make sure we have a brand new, a totally
No, they said it was for copyright violations or for copyright reasons. They just didn't mention whether it was manual or automatic or anything like that. What- There you go.
there we
I
go.
see what you're doing on screen like 30 seconds late now. So
Yeah, that'll be our anti-copyright Dalmatian, because Disney's never done this shit to us, but Robert Zemeckis apparently.
no, surprisingly not. Yeah, I think this is probably Robert Zemeckis himself. It's probably his fault.
He's watching. Welcome, Robert. We're glad to have you. Sorry about your career.
We're trying to do you a favor here. We're trying to point people to one of your old movies. Anyway, so we're checking in with Helen. Helen is now in a psychiatric hospital because she's, her life has been destroyed and she's totally broken psychologically due to Madeline Ashton. And that's all she ever talks about, how she ruined her life, how she stole her husband's and all that sort of stuff. And eventually her therapist is like, you have to erase her from your mind. You have to forget about her. You have to completely eliminate any. And then Helen goes, what? It's like, you have to completely eliminate. It's like, you're right. I have to completely eliminate Madeline Ashton. That's the lesson that she learns. Jen, I can't believe you reported it for copyright. That's so rude. That's that's misogyny right there. It's internalized misogyny on your part, and I won't stand for it. So now we have realized that Helen is going to go on a crusade to get revenge and completely eliminate Madeline Ashton. Right. So we check in on Madeline and Ernest, see how they're doing in their giant, crazy, LA mansion, and they're not doing well. They're not happy. I want to highlight a quick filmmaking thing it reminds me a lot of like almost an identical scene in The Shining. Actually, the filmmaking here is just incredible. So, this movie, I would say like at least 50% of all the scenes in the movie are just one solid take the whole time.
Yeah, it's
It's
the blocking is pretty well
Yeah, we
done.
don't do
Yeah.
a lot of crazy coverage. Obviously, there are scenes where we're cutting back and forth between different angles, but a lot of the scenes in this movie are all oneers. And they're not terribly long. They're maybe like 30 seconds to like a minute and a half long, but they like is one long takes and the camera's not going, whoa, but it's doing a lot of cool subtle things. So one in particular I wanted to highlight because I think it's just emblematic of like how cool and stylish and inventive the filmmaking in this movie is. So we're checking in on Madeline. She's waking up and her like maid is coming in to bring her something, right? And so she opens the door to the bedroom and it's dark everywhere but like the sort of silhouette of the door from the hallway, right? And then as the door opens, there's a subtle lighting cue where clearly lights in the room are being turned on. You know what I mean? It's a subtle little thing. It draws a little bit of attention to itself in kind of a fun way, but it's subtle. If you don't look for it, you might not notice it. And then the camera slowly pans out as the person is walking into the room, and it seems like she's behind Madeline's bed, and you're like, oh, that's a weird place to put a bed. And then as it pulls out even more, you realize that's a mirror and everything we're seeing is in the reflection. And it's like the whole scene, like while they're having this back and forth conversation, it's just all one long take where we pull back very, very slowly and sort of reveal that we're looking in a mirror the whole time.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's just we're just not doing stuff like that anymore for the most part. And this movie is just full of absolutely incredible little camera moves and things like that all throughout the movie. Really, really fun. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about when I say that, like, even if we describe everything that happens in the movie, I think you should still go watch it because the experience itself,
Yeah, there's a
we
lot
can't
of really
spoil that for you.
incredible techniques going on in the way that they made it. There's also a really fun joke that's delivered in this scene. So when she comes in, as she opens up the mechanical curtains very delicately, and she whispers to her, "Good morning, madam. You look absolutely marvelous." And she's like, "Hey, wait a minute, aren't you forgetting something?" She's like, "Well, it's only Thursday. I thought it was supposed to." She says, "Never mind. I think I need you to say it every morning." She goes, "Very well. Madam, you look younger every day." So she's like got her servants like trained to she has them on a schedule of when to say these
Of
things,
affirmations, yeah.
like these positive affirmations for her. She's like, "Okay, maybe I just think I need you to say it all the time. I think I just want it all whenever."
Yeah.
Right?
And so the package that the maid is delivering to her is an invitation to Helen Sharp's book party. The name of the book is Forever Young. And Madeline's like, forever young, right, and eternally fat. It's so petty. And so obviously we'll eventually learn that Helen is inviting her to this basically to rub her nose in something. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. We will eventually learn that Helen has already taken the potion that we have not learned about yet, the Forever Young potion. And so when Madeline shows up to Helen's book party, presumably just to check in on her and see if she's still living a better life than her, when she sees Goldie Hawn, now instead of the giant fat suit and the mousy hair and all that, she looks,
Like
stunning
Goldie Hawn,
and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this obviously is very upsetting to Madeline. She's not happy about it, right? It throws her into a spiral as well. And so the whole thing is just concocted to rub her nose in it. um, okay, so and then as the scene continues, Madeline is like, "Okay, well, where's my husband? Like, I don't think he got up this morning and made his bed. Where is he?" And like he fell asleep upstairs, so they're not sleeping in the same bed together. Things are not going well.
He passed out drunk on the floor, so yeah.
Yes. He has a little sip of a Bloody Mary as soon as he gets up. A little hair of the dog that bit him, that sort of thing.
She delivers it to him as if that's his like normal breakfast.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's great. And so then we learn that Dr. Menville, Ernest Menville, is no longer the esteemed plastic surgeon that he once was, partly because his hands shake too much. Presumably from years and years of alcoholism and an unhappy marriage and all that sort of fun stuff. So now he is mortician the technical term for someone who like makes corpses beautiful for open casket funerals and all that?
I'm pretty sure that's...
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what he does.
Reconstructive mortician is...
Yes.
So he's been reduced to working as... maybe the best reconstructive mortician in the business. You find out he's
very good at it. He's a genius.
He's got this intro scene, basically, your classic medical drama intro scene of him walking down a hallway flanked by
a little walk and talk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny, man. It's so good. Just like, yeah. So then, like, he's brought in, and then who's the guy that he has to work on?
It's a former an actor, right? Fernando Rivas, the actor, who drowned in his hot tub. So he's bloated and swollen. He was making love to his new fiance, 18 years old, from Cuba. So he's got this expression of happiness on his face that is completely inappropriate for an open casket funeral. And what Ernest says is, "We'll see if we can give him a little character, a little depth." And the guy responds with, "Depth? No, Mr. Menville. You can't give him any character or depth. People have to be able to recognize him." Which is a really good joke.
Yeah. It's a good joke. I mean, that's a great joke because it's also, because, Madeline and, like, Goldie Hawn's character, like, they're never presented as particularly talented people in any real respect at all. All they really are beautiful, and it's, like, not earned in any real sense.
Yeah.
So the joke about this actor who's like, "No, we can't give him any depth. No one would recognize him." Like, that's funny, and that's similar to how the movie feels about Madeline. Also, the fact that, like, he died making love to his 18-year-old girlfriend, like, that feels on theme as well. You know what I mean? Like, every
Yeah.
little detail, every little joke, is like goofy as it all is, it all fits. It's all on the same we're all walking the same path here. It's great.
And the look on his
And
face
so
the camera like pans around to
yeah,
reveal it is really funny.
it is really funny. I wish I could show it but, like, it's really hard to find good images from this movie. Um, and a lot of streaming services don't like
I'm
to.
gonna see if I can screenshot it.
Shot Deck, which is what I usually use for this sort of thing, only has, like, what, like, 14 images, 16 images from the whole movie. Usually there's, like, 50 to 100. Um, yeah, yeah, but the look on his face is very, very funny. The guy that died making love to his 18-year-old Cuban girlfriend. And they're like, we can't do an open casket funeral with this look on his face. Please, you have to help us.
You have to help us, but also no character depth, because then people won't know that it's him.
Yes.
And so then we cut away to Madeline getting her or headed to her
Blood plasma
plasma
separation. Yes.
separation treatment infusion.
Okay, so there's so many fucking great shots in this movie, man. But, like, she's being led into the office to go into the back room to get her, beauty treatments and whatever else. And, like, as we're watching them walk past, like, away from the camera down the hall, the door to a room where someone is getting the plasma separation, treatment that she's about to talk about. We see it, and it's like a inversion table with, like, blood coming out. Like, it's such a
Yeah.
crazy little image, and the way the camera moves to catch that in the mirror. There are a lot of mirrors in this movie, which is
Yeah.
on theme and also creates for really, really interesting cinematography choices, right? Where we're
Hmm.
like, scenes where we can see the one character who's facing the camera, but we can also catch the other person whose back is to us in a tiny little mirror in the background. You know what I mean? Things like that. Mirrors are a constant motif throughout the movie for obvious reasons, because the movie's all about vanity, right? But, like, there are so many ways we utilize mirrors to do really, really cool shots, and we can hang on shots for longer because we don't need to cut back and forth, because we can see everything we need to in one shot. It's really impressive. It's a
Yeah.
lot like The Shining in that
Yeah.
regard.
Well, and in
Yeah.
in this upcoming scene, where she's like trying to convince the poor, French tech to give her, like a second plasma separation treatment within a month, right? Which she explains is
Yeah.
very against the policy. She
It's
goes
very
from mirror
traumatic
to
for the
mirror,
body.
like
Yes.
trying to find some one that shows her in a more flattering light than
Yeah.
than she's seeing in the original. So yeah, it's
So she
really it's
says
good work by her as
yeah,
well, by Meryl Streep, utilizing the blocking.
yeah. I mean, you gotta think, so shooting a movie like this, requires a lot of, like, blocking and rehearsals and stuff like that, but it's actually quite a bit more efficient than shooting, like, 16 camera angles of every scene. I mean, the actors don't need to do it as many times, and you can get the whole scene. Like, once you get that perfect take, boom, that's the whole scene. It's done.
Yeah.
Great. We need to bring that back. So she wants this blood plasma transfusion thing, and they're like, it's very traumatic on the body, and you had one like a month ago. We can't give you another one. She's like, how about a nice collagen buff? And Meryl Streep's like, a collagen buff? You might as well be asking me to wash with soap and water.
And it's kind of funny
And,
how
and
like
he,
I just went back to look over it because they hide the guy who's going to send her to Isabella Rossellini in
yes,
behind the French girl who's trying to be like, please be reasonable. But they hide him behind her for his reveal, but he's not in there at the beginning, like in the first scene. So he just
Yeah.
sort of like
Appears.
shows up, which is
Yeah.
really fun and interesting, right? Like
Yeah,
given this deal with the devil kind of vibe, you know?
yeah, given that he's meant to be a creepy and eccentric weirdo, and this is sort of like emblematic of the weird, spooky direction that the plot is going to be going. The fact that he just sort of appears in the scene and you're sort of meant to go like, wait, was he there the whole time? I didn't feel like he was there the whole time, or maybe he was, you know. It's a fun choice. This movie is full of fun choices that like they didn't need to do half of this stuff, but
Yeah.
they did because they're like, wouldn't that be fun?
And then his eye is twitching all the time. Like he can't
Yeah,
stop his
yeah.
one eye from twitching during the conversation.
Yeah. Like, why is that there? I don't know. It's fun. It's fun, Jan. Get it. So and Madeline tells him, like, listen, you don't understand. This is very, very important to me because obviously she needs to look as good as possible to rub to rub that in the face of Helen when she sees her tonight. But eventually, yes, we reveal a creepy, weird guy whose eye keeps twitching. His like, like I know someone who might be able to help you. She's very, very exclusive. I could give you her number if you want. And she's like, and he's being very cryptic about it in a way that's quite funny as well. Um, so she goes to meet with, right. We go straight there, right? I think we do.
I,
Do we go
no,
straight
we
to the
go to
meeting
the
with?
book party first when they arrive. Like she doesn't go to, she rips the card in
Right, right,
half
right. Okay.
first and then goes to the
Yes.
book party, and they discover Helen
What
and
really
they
quick. Yeah. On the way to the book party, there's like they're just sitting in the back of the limo. Ernest and Madeline are, and they're just sitting in awkward silence because they don't actually like each other. And Bruce Willis is breathing really heavily out of his nose, and she's like, "Oh, could you just not breathe?" Like, just I don't know. Like we just hang in that silence as he just breathes heavily for a while. It's very funny to me. So they get to the book party and like, oh my god, it's packed, and um, they're waiting. Helen has not shown up yet, and Ernest, someone approaches him saying like, "Hey, like we met a long time ago. I don't know if you remember me. Like I never got a chance to thank you. You did such a spectacular job with my Aunt Esther." You know, and this is sort of establishing that he's been doing this for a while. He hasn't been a plastic surgeon for quite some time. And he's like, well, it's like you even brought out her cheekbones. He's like, well, that's my job. It was almost a shame to bury her. It's like, oh, that's so sweet of you to say. I don't know why. This movie just really makes me laugh a lot. So she asks, like, you did such a good job on her. It's almost sweet. It's almost a shame to bury her. Can I ask what your secret is? And he's like, oh, spray paint. And he's like, you see, you can't just use regular makeup on dead skin. The pores are too dry. You got to use a palette and grind the stuff in. One day in the hardware store, and I think, well, what about mannequin paint? It's got its own chemical adhesive, comes in a variety of flesh colors. And then, like, because the camera drifts from a 2-shot to a single on him while he's ranting about his secret to doing makeup for dead people is like spray paint you get from the hardware store. And he's ranting about the technicalities, about how well it adheres and everything. And then the camera sort of slowly like reveals that she's looking at him with disgust. It's pretty great.
it is
Bruce
it's a
Willis
lot of
is
fun.
so funny in this movie. He's so funny. I like his character a lot, and he has such an interesting arc because the resolution for him is very, very funny to me, and it's like the only real bit of heart the movie has.
Yeah.
That's great. So eventually, Goldie Hawn does show up, and she's looking stunning. She's looking like Goldie Hawn, and Madeline is very, very upset about this, right? And so they like pretending to be nice to each other, of course, but they secretly hate each other. And this is really, so there's a lot of really sassy like biting comments that they make
Yeah, the
throughout the
backhanded
movie.
sort of compliments. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well this one's not even not even backhanded. It's just really mean. It's really funny. She's like, "Oh gosh, I'm glad you came. I didn't know if you would. I spoke to my PR woman and she said Madeline Ashton goes to the opening of an envelope." And she says, "Oh, those people can be so cruel."
I
Like
fired her.
like
Well, I almost
yeah,
fired her.
well, that was sweet of you, dear. Oh, it's so funny. Madeline Ashton would go to the opening of an envelope. That's such a great joke. That's such a great line. Man, okay, I was going to remind myself who wrote this movie because it's like really well written. Where are you? Where are you, writer? Show me writers. Okay, so Martin Donovan and David Kep, Cope, Kep. Martin Donovan, not famous for really many things that I've heard of, but David Kep
Oh,
certainly is.
Jesus.
He
Wait,
wrote the
David
screenplay
Koepp, the
for
fourth most
Jurassic Park.
successful screenwriter of all times in terms of U.S. box office receipts. Total gross
Yeah,
of
he
over
certainly
$2.6 billion.
he was cooking with gas back in the day. He wrote the screenplay for Mission Impossible, for the first Raimi Spider-Man, for Jurassic Park, etc. But then again, he also wrote the screenplay for Jurassic World Rebirth.
And
So,
Indiana
you know,
Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
yeah, so it's a real "what have you done for me lately" sort of thing. But hey, back in the day, he was he was cooking with gas, that's for sure. Panic Room's a good screenplay as well. Anyway,
Well, he did this, and then immediately he did Jurassic Park. That was his
yeah.
next project after this.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
yeah,
Dean Cundey was the cinematographer on this movie, also the
Panic
cinematographer
Room.
on Jurassic Park. Yeah. Dean Cundey, oh man, I love the way his movies look, that is. I Jurassic Park's one of the best looking movies of all time. He's done so many great movies. He did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he did this, he did Apollo 13, Escape from New York. He's sort of Dean Cundey's an interesting guy because he did so many incredible movies. I'm gonna read a few more of them because, there are a lot. He did The Fog, he did Escape from New York, like I said, he did The Thing, um,
Damn.
he did Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Hook, Jurassic Park, Flubber, The Parent Trap. A lot of in The Parent Trap, for being like a Disney movie, it does look really, really incredible. And then something happened, I don't know what, and basically he's still doing stuff, but nothing on that level at all, and I don't really know exactly what's going on there. He was the cinematographer on Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill. Why?
Oh.
You know?
Oh no.
He's still doing stuff, but, like, nothing you've heard of. He did 2 episodes of The Book of Boba Fett and 3
Ooh.
episodes of The Mandalorian, so, like, um, I don't know what happened there, but, and he God, he shot so many absolutely incredibly good movies.
Our editor
Anyway.
here too, Arthur Schmidt, also has a pretty storied run here. Like I'm gonna just start. He was working since 1977, but I'm gonna start with 1985. Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, both sequels to Back to the Future. Death Becomes Her, Last of the Mohicans,
Mm,
Addams Family Values, which is my favorite of the Addams Family movies, Forrest Gump, The Birdcage, and then after that it kind of falls off a little bit. But
that's a lot of
that's a
hits.
pretty good run right there. So yeah, not bad at all. This is a pretty stellar group working together. Uh, a good getting the band back together kind of thing. Jack and Jill was his magnum opus. Well, it certainly was a movie. It certainly did do numbers. Um, yeah, I don't remember what we were talking about before Jamie left. I'm going to be completely honest, so I'm not sure where to go from here at the moment. Um, but yeah, we're at the point where they're meeting at the I don't remember why we went off on this tangent either. Damn. Yeah, so they've met at the book party and they've traded some catty back and forth. Mad reminds Helen that she stole Ernest from her. She's like, "Oh, he's such a dream. I sometimes think, I felt bad that it was it was at your expense that I took him from you." And they have a little, she attempts her jab back in that. So yeah, yet again, a good point to the writing.
What's a good point to the writing? Where are we?
We're at the part.
Sorry,
I
I'm
was
back.
at the part where they were trading their like catty jabs back and forth to each other at the party.
Yes.
And she sort of attempts to manipulate. She's kind of says like, "Oh no, it wasn't you. It was him," to try to like endear herself to Madeline a little bit. But then she's gonna immediately double back on that. But I had forgotten completely why we went off on the tangent of like exploring the crew who made it. So I was kind of just scrambling for something to talk about.
I think it was the writer, because the writing is good. So we were like, who
Yes.
wrote this? And then that led us on like, all the other major collaborators.
It's a good team that they had that they put together here.
Oh yeah, it's a great team. Yeah, everyone's cooking in this. Yeah, so then she she will go to meet with Ernest to say basically these exact same things, like, no, Ernest, like, no, I don't, I don't hate you. Like, it's all her fault, really. Like, like, she wasted you. She married a brilliant surgeon and turned him into an undertaker. Like, I want you to know something. I have never blamed you for leaving me. I always knew it was her. She's a woman. A woman, Ernest, from Newark, for God's sakes. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny.
Yeah.
This movie's hysterical. I love this.
There's a lot of really great lines like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she comes over to Ernest and pulls him to the side. Doesn't expect Madeline to be listening in on their conversation. But she blames Madeline to Ernest, and so later that night, Madeline sort of storms out of the house as Ernest dreams about what his life could have been like had he never left Helen for her. And she goes to see her young boy toy living in O.J. Simpson's backyard, basically. And
yeah.
he's busy with a woman his own age that makes Madeline upset, and they have a little bit of a falling out. And he's just kind of like, "Why don't you just find someone your own age, Madeline? You never think about my feelings, how embarrassing it is for me to be walking around town with an old bag like you. You never think about me and how that affects me, Madeline."
Yeah. There's another really funny joke where she's she's at the boy toy's house, and he says, like, you can't come in. She's like, oh, there's someone else there, and he's like, nuh-uh, there's no one else there. I'm completely alone. And then she hears something, and she's like, what is she doing here? And he's like, I promise you, it's completely innocent. It's like, what's she doing here? And then he starts babbling, and she's like, oh, for God's sakes, just lie quickly.
Yeah.
At least lie quickly. I'm wasting my time. And so, after that doesn't go well, she's really in a bad state. She's driving down the highway, and it's pouring down, raining, because at the very end of the conversation with the boy toy, it just immediately starts pouring down rain on her. in exactly as cartoonish a way as you're imagining.
Yes, and then as she's driving away, her headlights have wiper blades on them for some reason to wipe the water off of the.
Well, that was a thing that some cars had.
Really?
That's a real thing.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know why. I think it's mostly for snow, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe that would make sense. Yeah. I guess
that's definitely a thing that cars used to have. Some cars used to have. Yeah,
I was not aware that was. I thought that was like a goofy prop of unnecessary.
No, that was a thing. That was the thing that happened. The 90s, baby.
That's.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
and
snow, slush, mud, and insects. Yeah, okay, interesting. some cars had headlight wipers. Popular on luxury cars from the 70s to the 90s. Okay, so she's like still like living in that sort of like luxurious, so buying like these cars with unnecessary little attachments, especially when you live in fucking Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
But as she's driving down the highway in the pouring rain, I love she like looks in her rearview mirror to check her makeup, and she's like freaks out when she sees the way she looks, so she slams on the brakes
in the middle of the highway.
in the middle of the highway.
Causes an accident. There's so many little moments like that, man, where like okay, one of my favorite ones, this is later in the movie, eventually he's going to be taking Madeline to the hospital, right? And so he's pulling up in the emergency room, and they didn't need to do this, but he crashes into an ambulance that's just sitting there. It's just so funny. There's so many little details like that. She slams on her brake as she looks at herself in the mirror. She's crying. Her makeup is smeared because she was just caught in the rain. And so she looks at herself, sees how hideous she is, like screams, and then slams on her brakes in the middle of the highway and causes several accidents. It's great. And she's looking at herself in the mirror. She's really unhappy. And then she remembers, the light bulb goes off. She remembers the business card she was given by the weirdo who might be able to help her. And so then she goes and she visits the incredibly over-the-top Gothic mansion of Isabella Rossellini. And there's so many fun little, like, quirky details, but, like, that actually factor into the plot briefly later. Like, okay, she's led in, and there's like this weird guy who's like shirtless, but he's wearing like a wrestling belt.
He's wearing this like weird spandex, like Arnold Schwarzenegger from like an 80s movie kind of outfit. Yeah, like there's striped tights. the Dobermans taking the elevator by themselves and just like walking around. They get off the elevator by themselves and then like go somewhere as if they're like, they have somewhere to be, which is kind of fun. There's
and so
other
they say like Miss Von Rumen was expecting you, and so like she's brought in, she's followed, and then there's a little detail. It's just like, okay, she's sitting there, she's like, wait here, please. The guy leaves. And then she sees an elevator, like because it's this giant, massive mansion that has like a bajillion floors. And so the elevator comes down and it dings, and then the door opens and nothing comes out at first. And then two Dobermans exit the elevator and then just go walk calmly down the steps into the other room. And she's just watching this happen. And it's like, it's surreal and strange. And then the guy's like, he's like, follow me, please. Like appears right behind her. It's so goofy. And so she's brought down, and there's a guy laying on the couch, and he's like, have a seat.
Yeah,
and then
it's like one of those like, oh god, because it's got
like a chaise lounge,
chaise lounge kind of couch, and so he's leaned up against it, but there's enough room at the end of his leg for like somebody else to sit, right? So this person, the guy who leads her in, gestures to the couch and is like, oh yeah, go ahead, please have a seat. And she deliberately chooses to like sit right where he's sitting. She like, which I just found that kind of funny. I'm like, you could have sat in the other spot. Like there was room.
Also, speaking of funny, Donald's Angry says, do you think that he wrote Dunkachino? That is the writer of this movie who wrote many other incredible films. Do you think he was the guy who wrote like Say Hello to My Chocolate Blend? Do you think that was the same guy? I think David Koepp or Cope, whatever his name is, came up with that one. Dunkachino. Anyway,
probably. I would.
So then,
he wrote Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too, so like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Isabella Rossellini is in a chair facing a giant fireplace and sort of emerges from behind it. It's like, I hoped you'd come, and then she kind of comes over and like winks at her. Like she like leans around the chair wings, like, make some room for my friend, for Christ's sake.
But keep your ass handy. But she's like not delivering. It's a weird way that she delivers the line. So you're not really sure what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah. And so she starts off by flattering her. She says, "May I say that I've always thought yours to be one of the most beautiful faces ever to grace the silver screen." There's some interesting parallels between this and Sunset Boulevard, by the way. I was thinking about Sunset Boulevard a few times when I was watching this. Um, and then she says, "Oh, and that husband of yours, I can only say that his reputation is unsurpassed. I just arrived in town. I follow the spring. I haven't seen an autumn or winter in years. We are creatures of the spring, you and I." More like it's that this is the kind of stuff I mean when I'm talking about like how like symbolically coherent this movie is.
Yeah.
Some of this dialogue is like legitimately really, really good. I follow the spring and I haven't seen an autumn or winter in years, which explains why she settled in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? You and I are creatures of the spring. And she's like, I'm not really quite sure why I came. And she's like, "You're scared as hell of yourself, of the body you thought you once knew. I am the one who understands. I'm the one who knows your secret." And then we cut away. Helen goes to visit Ernest, and we see a scene before this where she's practicing this. She's practicing going like, "Madeline, Madeline, I'm here to speak to Madeline." We see her practice that in the mirror a few times, just like Madeline did at the beginning of the movie. And then, she knocks on the door, and Bruce Willis opens it, and like she does this great reveal where she's in this like red dress, this red like ball gown, and she has this green umbrella, so the contrast is really great. And then she like lifts the umbrella to reveal her face, and like, "Madeline, I need to speak to Madeline." And he's like, "She's not here." And she's like, "Oh, thank God," and just tosses the umbrella. And she's like, "Ernest, ask me to go. Ask me to leave this house immediately." He's like, "You just got here." And she's like, I know, but
it's so funny how like he's just not playing in to the dramatic soap opera bullshit. He's
that she
just
wants, yeah.
he's like
But you just got here.
you just got here.
Well, his name is Ernest. So it fits so perfectly.
Yeah.
Like it
This
just
is
took
the
me a
scene
glimpse.
that like really to me struck me as like something I was like this could have been a Rick Moranis joint.
Yeah.
Like it absolutely would have fit. Uh and Georgius is asking, Bruce Willis makes a point of saying he didn't hear the gate, so did she climb over it wearing that? We see later too, she like runs to get through it because even though there's a gate, there's nobody watching it. So like, as soon as like if it opens and closes, she can just like walk in and out. It's kind of funny. So like, she probably she probably climbed over it in the pouring rain and has not a single hair out of place on her head. Which
one can also imagine she's been waiting there a long time. She's an insane person, incredibly obsessive, and like she's been practicing this for like years. Because we didn't talk about it, but one of the first time jumps we do, it says 7 years later, and then we do another time jump, and it says another 7
years later.
Yeah, right. So she's come in, and this is her routine that she's practiced, right? "Ask me to go, Ernest. Ask me to leave this house immediately." Like, "You just got here." "I know, but it just took me a glimpse, and I was back where I started." He's like, "Where's that?" He's like, "Don't pretend you're not aware of it." He's like, "Of what?" "You're a powerful sexual being, Ernest." "I am?" "Yes, you are. I've never told you before it's because I wasn't the sort of girl that could say the word sexual without blushing. Well, I can now." And then she just says,
she just starts
"Sexual,
saying it.
sensual, sexy, sex." And he's just sitting there like, "Ooh." It's so funny. His facial expression during all of this is just, he's so good. He's so good in this movie. And so we cut back, right, to Madeline. Isabella Rossellini is saying, like, "And already it ebbs from you. This is life's ultimate cruelty. It offers us the taste of youth and vitality, and then makes us witness our own decay." And then, Madeline's like, "Well, it is the natural law." And she says, "Screw the natural law."
Screw.
Very important.
Screw. Fuck your megalopolis.
And then she goes and retrieves something that's in this giant ornate like Egyptian coded exotic case, right? It's got like an ankh. I think, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she opens it up, and inside is an egg. Another great bit of symbolism. Like all of this is so like it's this foreign exotic magic, right? And it comes from an egg, which is another symbol of like fertility and spring and youth and all that sort of
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she opens it, and it's this little vial, this little like thing. It's like this really like pink, like fluorescent pink potion, right? It's classic magical potion that sort of like emits a really odd, unnatural color, right? And she sets the vial standing up like a top, just perfectly balanced on this like silver tray, right? So there's another little like indication that it doesn't obey natural law, right? It shouldn't be able to balance like that, but it
Yeah.
does. Which is like,
It's
man, there's so
very
many like
coherent, man. It's really well
it's
put
so
together.
good.
Yeah.
It's so good. They like I don't know if it was all intuitive, if they really thought about it explicitly, but like all this stuff really works. Really works. And she says, like, what is that? And like, oh, it's what you came for. A touch of magic in this world obsessed with science. A tonic, a potion. And then she asks what it does, and then she sits down and she's like, how old would you guess that I am, Madeline? And she's like, I wouldn't. It's like, oh, come on, don't try and flatter me. And she says, 38?
The
Oh
way
no,
that her
28.
smile fades, well, she
23.
says 38, and like she gets like because she's smiling. She's like, "Come on, don't try to flatter me. Go ahead, guess." And she goes 38, and immediately the smile drops from her face. She's actually offended. It's like 28, 23, 23. It's so funny, man.
She reveals that Isabella Rossellini reveals that she is 71 years old, and she says that's what it does. It stops the aging process dead in its tracks and forces it into retreat. Drink that potion and you'll never grow even one day older. Don't drink it and continue to watch yourself rot. I really like this dialogue. This dialogue's great. And she's like, how much is it? And she goes, ugh, the sordid topic of coin, I'm afraid, is not so simple. The cost, you see, is different for everyone. And she's like, okay, well, for me, how much?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so. She's like, all right, I'm convinced. I can't remember if this is before or after. They do a little test, right, before you drink the whole thing.
I'm gonna see if I can play the sound.
Good luck.
We're gonna
Good
try.
luck. Please, come on, copyright. Please don't strike us.
Can we hear this? Chat, let me know. Can we hear this? Are you hearing the music when it plays?
Do I have to listen to stream, I guess. Yeah.
I'm seeing levels show up, so it should be.
I hear it, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
Hold out your hand.
So she goes to prick her.
Ow! What are you nuts?
She like taps her with the little knife on the finger. She reacts with one of the biggest screams I have ever heard from Meryl Streep. It's so funny.
That's great. What are you nuts?
What are you nuts? Oh, it's so over.
The music is great. It's got this great gothic sort of feel to it, And there's so many great things where, like, Isabella Rossellini is playing this exotic, mysterious, dangerous, magical woman, right? And all her dialogue is a little bit more esoteric, all that sort of stuff. And then it's always undercut with a little joke from Madeline, who's very sort of like banal and modern about it. She's like, okay, but for me, how much does it cost? How much? Like, I'll pay you whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing she says, like, how much for me? And then Isabella Rossellini writes something on a piece of paper that we don't see, shows it to her, and she goes, oh, well, thank you very much. I should be going.
Yeah. And so then they do the test. And like Jen points out, she immediately so what happens is like she drops some of the potion onto the cut finger and it changes the hand. It immediately starts to look younger. The liver spots or the sunspots are gone. And so she watches it and then like just goes, is check okay?
Yep. Check okay. She says fine. It's like, but you must make me a promise. The secret that we share must never become public. You may continue your career for 10 years. 10 years of perfect, unchanged beauty. But at the end of that time, before people become suspicious, you have to disappear from public view forever. So that's the catch, right? And that makes a certain amount of sense because obviously, if she just looked this way for another 130 years, it would obviously become suspicious somewhere in there, right? And so their system is like, all right, you can have this for 10 years, but after that, you just kind of have to retire and become a recluse. And there's a fun little gag later where we see someone who the movie claims was given this potion, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean,
And
there's a lot of them you can see later on in the party, right? Like a lot of the famous
yes,
boomer favorites like Marilyn Monroe and James Dean and Elvis, although I do think it's funny that like this movie would insist that Elvis took the potion and then faked his own death on the toilet from a heroin overdose, a combination of heroin overdose and constipation. Like, he's still kind of like Fat Elvis in this scene, which is like, I mean, if he took the potion, he really shouldn't be. He should look like he did when he was in the Hawaii movies, not like he
yeah.
did in Las Vegas. But that's,
Listen,
you know,
they sort of imply it stop. They kind of play a little loose with whether it stops it dead in its tracks or whether it actually like gives you a bit more. Like it sort of, it's like okay, however you look now, it's going to make you look like what 5 years younger, and then lock that in place. That's basically how it's implied, right? Because like
yeah.
Meryl Streep doesn't de-age to like 20. She just looks as good as a 40-year-old can look, and then it locks it in place essentially.
Yeah. And like, yeah, she firms up.
Mr.
She,
Redhead says, so this movie is a much more funny and better version of The Substance. Absolutely.
yes,
It is like The
100%.
Substance. It is like The Substance in all the ways that The Substance is trying to say anything of value, but way better in every single regard. It's a much more interesting film visually. The performances are way better. It's legitimately very, very, very funny. You know, you don't get the body horror, but you get all the themes explored much more meaningfully and a lot of really funny jokes.
Yeah. And there is a little
Yeah,
bit
better in
like
every
some
way, I
of the
would say.
special effects that they use could be considered body horror, like when she's walking around with her neck
A little bit.
on
Yeah.
backwards at one point.
Yeah, there's a little bit,
Yeah.
for sure. It's maybe not as visceral as, like, you know, someone emerging from someone else's back, but well, yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to it. The visual effects, very good for 1992. Very good. Yeah, I shouldn't have said you don't get any body horror, but it's certainly less body horror. So
Yeah.
if
And then after she
um,
drinks the potion, she gives another fantastic line. So Mad drinks the potion, and Isabella Rossellini goes, "Now a warning," and she's like, "Now a warning."
it's great, and her delivery is just immaculate on that. It's like, now a warning: take care of yourself. You and your body are going to be together a long time. Be good to it. Siempre viva, live forever. All right. And then so as she's leaving, she gets one look at herself in the mirror. She's drunk the whole potion now. She gets a look at herself in the mirror right before she's about to leave the house. And we see the de-aging, which like the special effects are really, really good.
Yes.
You know, Robert Zemeckis has always been pretty innovative on the cutting edge of that sort of thing. With stuff like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and all the sort of like imposing Forrest Gump into old footage. You know, he's been on the cutting edge of that for a long time. And this is another great example. The de-aging stuff looks pretty great. Pretty great. And so like her skin gets smoother and everything, but like there's even some fun stuff where like we get like a low angle shot of her ass and it like gets tighter. You know, all this other stuff like that. It's fun, it's goofy, it's over the top. I hear you saying, hold on. I hear saying it's no longer being blocked. Okay, someone is listening behind. Yes, we did fix that problem. We were down for a bit, but we're back, baby. But we just can't show you the trailer anymore. We can apparently play clips of the audio of the film, but we can't show the trailer. So, so she sees herself de-age miraculously in the mirror, and then she says, "Oh, I'm a girl." It's so goofy.
Yeah,
It's so goofy. So
it's
then
so
we're
funny.
back to Ernest and Helen, and they're about to start kissing, and she's like, or maybe they already did, I can't remember. And she's like, Ernest, oh, we have to stop. And he's like, really sexually frustrated. He's like, I know, but we can't. You're like, Ernest, don't be angry with me. I'm fighting as hard as I can, but I just look at you. She's already destroyed your career. Now she's breaking your heart, stealing your pride, flaunting her lovers all over town. And he's like, you know about that? And she says, everyone does. And so this is when she's going to start planting the seeds of like, hey, maybe you should just kill her. Maybe we could kill her.
Well, he like first thing tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go downtown and I'm gonna obtain a divorce from Madeline Ashton. And she goes Ernest, and he's like, well, first thing Monday morning then, at the very least Tuesday, and then he's taking a drink. It's like a divorce in California. That's exactly what she wants. So then they start hatching the plot of killing her. Right? Like you'll take you'll take one of each kind of wine glass and lace it with narcanol. I'll get her to invite me to dinner, and she'll drink from the poisoned wine glass. And then we'll work together quickly. You and I will work quickly. First, we'll finish dinner. Then we'll load her in the car and take her to the top of Mulholland Drive. Another great tie-in to a former to another stream.
Symbolically similar.
Yeah,
I would say.
The ego and the destruction of ego, and then the breakdown of it in Hollywood, but also like some drum.
Essentially, this is just the story of Hollywood.
Yeah,
really. Sunset Boulevard, Mulholland Drive. This. Yeah, it's great.
The way that they put all the alcohol that they put in like the bottom of the car, so that it's like essentially just it's just a puddle of Hennessy. And then they're like, okay, we'll put a half empty bottle of booze in her hand and just like put her foot on the gas pedal and wing her off the edge, and then it goes up and it comes down and just explodes immediately.
Yeah.
God, it's so she has this whole plan hatched. We see some shotguns in a case behind him.
Really
which
quick.
I think is a nice little use of visual foreshadowing. But go ahead, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Georges Rex says they do the same the comedy flash forward sequence thing, which is great. Yeah. Yes. So somehow the movie, which is already incredibly stylized, gets even more stylized in this sequence because it's like, I guess, Ernest imagining how this is all going to look as it goes down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, oh man, there's a great little bit. So they like when she starts describing the plan, right? How they're going to put narcanol in the glasses and all that. That shot starts like in the fireplace with flames in front of the camera, and then moves through the fire into the scene to travel all the way to like the cupboard where all the glasses are. Like, why? Because that's awesome. That's why. And so when they send the car off the cliff and it explodes immediately, like upon impact, which is just very funny, it cuts immediately back to Helen and Ernest on the edge of the cliff, and the explosion is happening right in between them. And then we cut right from that back to the present when it's being described, or like at the end of describing the plan, we cut back to the present, and Ernest's glasses are reflecting the fireplace like really like cartoonishly in his eyes. And then it kind of dies down in a way that's not realistic at all, but it just looks awesome. It's just such a like, that's so cool. That whole, using that like fire motif throughout that to like transition in and out of that little fantasy that he has, and the fire reflecting in the glasses on his eyes. It's incredible, man. They're doing so much stuff that you don't need to do, but it's just like, basically, it just, when you watch it, you're like, they took every available opportunity to make things as fun as they could possibly be. And I'm so glad they did. I just, it's very refreshing. Very refreshing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got a lot of plot to go. So, he's like, we can't go through with this, Helen. And she's like, it's the only way. Like, after she's gone, you can start your life all over again. We'll be so happy together. He's like, she's killing you. And he's like, so it would be self-defense. And then he's like, he's starting to believe that this is a good thing to do. And so, yes. Well, okay. What immediately happens after that?
She comes home, and
Oh,
this is
right.
where we see her sneak through the
Right.
gate,
Oh,
right?
yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah, and so then they get like, she comes home, she's feeling herself, she's vibing. He's stalking around with his glass of whiskey, and she gets ready in this like, skin, like kind of basically a cat suit to go out, right? And he decides, why wait? Let's confront her now.
Yeah.
And he start like, because he is, he's not on board with all this like camp drama soap opera shit. He's just like, I'm gonna solve, like, I'm convinced this is the problem, and now I'm gonna
I'm
solve
gonna give
it.
her a stern talking to.
And so they have a
Yes.
little argument at the top of the stairs. He doesn't notice that she looks younger. He says something like, "Oh, you changed your hair," and she kind of like laughs and is like, "Oh," ha, ha, ha. And so then he starts insulting her, and she starts insulting him back. They get into a big argument, and he grabs her by the throat and walks over to the top of the stairs, where she's like balancing on, like, because she's on high heels, so she's balancing on like the soles of her feet on the tops of the stairs, and he stops because he realizes he's made a mistake, right? And he's having his moment of like, oh my god, what have I done, Madeline? I'm so sorry, forgive me. And she's comedically like wobbling at the top of the stairs, like trying to
It's
catch
very
and
Looney
balance.
Tunes. Yeah.
Very
It's-
Looney Tunes.
it reminds me, as much as like it is physically possible in the live action thing, it reminded me of like Coyote versus Roadrunner, and Coyote's like floating before he actually falls. That's the
Like,
vibe.
if you don't look
essentially.
down, you won't fall.
Exactly.
Classic cartoon logic.
It's like, hurry, help me, hurry up, you wimp.
Yeah, hurry, help me. Hurry. Help me. Hurry up, you wimp. Like, she's being kind of like sincere at first, and then her tone changes at the last second. And so he just taps her on the chest and pushes her down the stairs. Her neck breaks. It's this very very comedically long fall.
It's so funny. I mean, it's a big staircase, but they exaggerate in editing how big it is to a comedic degree. It's very funny.
And she lands in like the Peter Griffin pose from like whenever he falls in.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Oh, that's so funny. That's so true. Yeah, whenever someone falls down the stairs in Family Guy, like that's exactly the pose they end up in, with their arm like backwards and their head all spun around. Yeah. And then she's on the ground looking very much dead. And he's like, oh boy. Oh boy. He just keeps saying oh boy over and over again. So he calls Helen rather. He's like, it's me, Ernest Menville. I did it. I didn't think I'd be able to, but I did it. I pushed her down the stairs. She's absolutely stone cold. She was saying the most monstrous things, and she's dead. I just had this feeling inside of me that I couldn't contain. We're free, Helen. But I'm afraid we're going to burn in hell. Her neck is broken, and there's no pulse, and she's dead. And then Helen, like, he rambles all of that, and Helen's like, exactly which part of the plan were you unclear on? We went over it 3 times, Ernest.
It's so funny, yeah. Which part were you unclear on? We went over it 3 times.
Have you called the police? No, I called you first. Ernest, you poor sweet thing. If the police check the phone records, don't you think it'll look unusual that you called me before them? And he's like, oh my God, you're right. And she's like, of course I'm right. What's really funny about the dynamic of this movie, and this is revealed explicitly later, is that like neither of these awful women actually love Ernest at all. They just hate the other woman. And so they're like, and she's like, oh, you're such a sexual being, Ernest. He's like, I am, like he isn't at all, but they're just trying to get back at each other. And like, it's so funny because they're so mean to him whenever things are going right. It's very funny. And so they have to concoct a plan, like, oh, like,
call the police, whatever. But like, as this is all happening, she's like snapping her body back into into position. It's like,
this is some of the you could describe this as body horror.
Yeah.
Where it's so cool, man. In the background of the shot, it's legitimately kind of spooky, where like she's kind of contorting herself all strangely, trying to snap back into place everything that's broken, and then she comes wandering towards the camera, slowly comes into focus while he's on the phone with Madeline, and then it's what is she say? She's like, Ernest, it's like, Ernest, you pushed me down the stairs. And then, so what's really great about this is that her head is twisted completely around. So like everything else is normal except that her head is on backwards, essentially. And so she's walking around. And this is some of that like early 90s CGI that like holds up, I would say, remarkably well for when it came out.
Very well.
Very well integrated for what it is. And so like this like CGI model of Meryl Streep, but with her head on backwards, is like walking around. Oh, it's so funny. And
well,
and
like,
so
she's it's so he's like, don't follow me, don't follow me, don't talk to me. She's like, I don't intend to, I just have to make a phone call, you wife pusher. You're in the shit house now, pal. And he tells her to, like, he's like, Madeline, take a look at yourself. She looks at her, she's like, Ernest, I can see my ass. And he's just like, yeah, and there's something wrong with your neck too.
Well, I would say so. I would frickin' well say so.
Oh god, it's so funny. She like,
so he's freaking out, like obviously she's got like a completely dislocated neck, but he's like, I was sure, I checked your pulse and everything and you were dead, but like, oh my god, I don't know. So you're like, I think we need a doctor, and so they drive to the hospital, and because it's just an establishing shot of the car driving to the hospital, but they take the opportunity for another gag. So he comes pulling into the emergency room and completely rear ends an ambulance, and then gets out, and it's like, she's on death's door. She's at death's door. Please, we need help. And then it cuts immediately in, and we're like, she's on a stretcher, and he's talking to a doctor, and he's like, doctor, she's at death's door. Like, the editing is so funny, the way it like cuts between all these things. And so,
the scene with the doctor is so funny, man.
Oh my god, it's so good. What's the doctor's name again? Or like
the actor?
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, it's not who I thought it was. Never mind. So it's not someone I know by name. But anyway, yes. The doctor's like doing an inspection on her, like checking her pulse and looking at her neck and seeing like the bone protruding from her neck. And eventually
he checks her wrist, like, and bends it pretty much all the way back, and he's like, does this hurt? And like, she's just like, nope. He's like, you're telling me it doesn't hurt when I do this.
And he's pushing it really far back, and she just can't feel any sort of pain at all. She's got a bone sticking out of her neck, but like she doesn't even notice, can't feel it at all. And then he has a stethoscope, and he goes to like listen to her heartbeat. And he has this confused look, and then he takes the stethoscope he's wearing, throws it in the trash, picks up a different one off the wall,
the bigger one, bigger one. He gets a bigger stethoscope. Yes. I like when he like taps it like he like flicks it like a microphone, forgetting that it's like attached to his ears. So he's like, and then he spooks himself.
So funny. It's so funny. He throws out one stethoscope because it didn't give him the result he wanted, and picks up a bigger one. And he's like, okie dokie, I think that just about covers that. And then meanwhile, in the background, as this inspection has been happening, Bruce Willis has been sipping from a flask. And so the doctor's like, okay.
I wonder if I could have a little. Could I have a sip of that?
Can I have a little sip of that? Like, well, I'll tell you what. Well, this odd thing, your wrist, as far as I can tell, it's fractured in 3 places, and you've shattered 2 vertebrae. I can't really be certain, without an X-ray, but the bone protrusion through the skin, that's not a good sign. And your body temperature is below, it was like 80 degrees or
below
something
80,
like that. Is like, and your heart stopped beating. She's like, what the hell does that mean? He says, exactly. Like, and then he can't bring himself to say it. He's like, I'm gonna get a second opinion. It sounds like 90s Tim Burton. Yeah, it's 90s Robert Zemeckis, but it feels it's got Beetlejuice camp to it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's of a kind with that sort of
Yeah,
like Coke
this is the kind of
induced
thing that could
movie.
have fit very well in like one of the Addams Family movies as well. You
Oh
know, like, yeah, it's got a particular vibe to it. The '90s had a really fun, campy,
Mhm.
like over the top horror thing.
Yeah. And then Ernest goes to Inspector himself, and then he's like, "You're in violation of every natural law, of every natural law that I know." And basically, this is the big reveal: she is dead. She is
Yes.
like all signs point to her being physically dead. She can't feel any pain from any of this, but her heart has stopped beating. You know, her body's cold. She has all these like, horrible injuries, but she's still alive somehow.
Yeah, as she
And
faints,
Ernest,
as he says this, she passes out,
Mhm.
and he leaves the room to go find a doctor, and he has a very difficult time finding one. And it turns out it's because the doctor who came in to examine her has had a heart attack, because he's
and died.
and died because he's so shocked. So he goes back to the room and finds a woman in the room.
Forgot about this bit. Oh, this bit's so funny.
And he's just like, "Wait,
Okay,
where
keep
is
going.
she?" And she's like, "I'm sorry to have to tell you." But
Like, you don't understand. She didn't. I know this is very hard to
I'm terribly sorry,
explain.
sir. I know how difficult this must be. It's like, you don't understand. She didn't. This is very hard to explain. I know it is. How can anyone explain it? Where did you put my wife? Don't worry about that now. Just give yourself some time to grieve. He grabs her by the lapels and gets up in her face. Is like, "Where did you put my wife?" She's dead, sir. They took her to the morgue.
The
The
morgue. She'll be furious.
It's such a
He's running
it's such a
to the
good
room.
line, dude. It's such a
It's such a
great
great line.
setup.
Oh yeah. And so he goes into the morgue. He wanders into the morgue, and then we hear like tapping from inside the, those metal casket shelves that go into the wall, whatever those are called. He hears
Oh, but the
tapping. He
nuns
pulls it.
leaving. The nuns doing the Russian
Oh
step
yeah,
leaving the morgue
yes,
is so good, dude.
yeah,
It's such an eerie and creepy thing, because as he's going in there, they're leaving and they're doing this like ballet step. They have to be, because they look like
yes.
they're gliding
Yeah,
on
they
the
look like they're
floor.
floating. There's three nuns in the full garb walking the other way in the hallway as he heads towards the morgue, and they look like they're floating down the hallway essentially. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's that ballet step, whatever it's called.
it's called
It's
Russian
really
steps. Yeah.
okay.
It's
It's
really
it's
cool.
eerie and strange, and like ultimately doesn't really like it's not necessary, but I'm so glad it's there because it adds so much ambiance and vibe to the whole thing, right? And there's three of them too. It's great.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the morgue, opens up that little metal shelf they put the bodies in, and like all the not steam, but whatever condensation comes out, and then he opens up the zipped up bag. He's like, I kept yelling and yelling, and nobody heard me, and nobody did anything. I didn't know where I was, and I got scared. He's like, it's okay, it's all right. He's like, Ernest, I'm in the morgue. Why am I in the morgue? She like sits up really like whatever sympathy you might have had for like a hot second, of how creepy that must be to like wake up in a body bag in the morgue. She's back to being kind of like petty and annoyed by it immediately. It's very funny. There's so many opportunities for them to like learn something from any of this and improve as characters, and they just steadfastly refuse to learn it.
Yeah,
Every
like he
given
gives her
opportunity.
another chance here too, right? Where he's just like, this is never, because he obviously doesn't know that she's taken a potion that makes her immortal. So he
No.
just thinks that she is like a miracle of like a
I
miraculous
I
case.
love the way he says this really quick. So he
Okay, go
says,
for
in
it.
the whole of recorded medical history, this has never happened to another single human. He's like, so why did it have to happen to me? Like, you know what you are, darling. You're a sign, you're an omen, a burning bush. It's like, I am? Of course you are. We're being told that we belong together, and I'm being called, I'm being challenged. Don't you see, Madeline? It's a miracle. And then there's a big lightning flash outside. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so good. And what you don't realize at the time that that's actually set up for an even better joke later in the movie.
We cut to Goldie Hawn dressed like fucking Fidel Castro, like in a black beret and like a leather jacket and everything's like camping outside the house, but she's also still wearing heels. So she runs to get in, and she climbs over the gate as she watches him drag the body into the house. Right, but she like tiptoes. There's a
Good
great
Lord, what is he
stunt here
doing?
too, right? Where she
Go ahead.
yeah, because she's tiptoeing through the courtyard and she gets to the driveway and she has this really comically big reaction when she hears a car coming. So she dives down onto the pavement and like lies flat to try to stop herself from being seen. And he's wheeling it back out of the garage with the car, and it comes right up to where she's lying. And
almost hits her in the face.
Almost runs over her, and then like it keeps going. But and it's a unbelievably good stunt. It's so
it's
cool.
a great stunt. I mean, like there's no editing hiding it. It's like she lies down flat, and then we see the car backing up like an absolute maniac coming up. A wide angle lens, so it really kind of exaggerates how like fast motion towards the camera is, and it comes right up and almost hits her in the face, and then speeds off in the other direction. It's so good. It's such a fun stunt. It is kind of impressive. Like, oh, goddamn, that was close.
Yeah,
he almost ran over Goldie Hawn, and it's her. Obviously, it's a stunt driver. But it's why they call stunt drivers precision drivers.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of stunt that like you don't expect that in a comedy movie. Like not necessarily.
No. Yeah,
like it's
but it's like I said, they take every single opportunity they have to do fun things when it's not necessary at all.
Yeah,
like for example, when she climbs over the fence, we have like a stunt woman doing that, like this awesome thing. But then like the camera like comes down from the fence, tilts down from the fence, and we do a little Texas switch, and Goldie Hawn stands up. Stuff like that. It's just it just This came out right before Jurassic Park, but I feel like they both have a lot in common in that they used every single filmmaking technique available to them. You know what I mean? Like they did all of it.
Absolutely.
They did all these stunts for real. They did Texas switches. They used CGI. They used puppets. They used you know what I mean? It's everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just they seem to have a mastery of the whole tools kit, which I feel like it's just you don't see that as much anymore.
Every opportunity they get to show you something to do something in one of the more exciting ways, they're gonna do it, and it's gonna it's gonna work because it's just fun.
Yeah, it's an unbelievably fun movie. So they're back at the house, and Ernest is doing his best to fix her with makeup. To make her presentable again, so no one will know that she died, especially that he killed her. And so he's doing her makeup and all that sort of stuff, and then the phone keeps ringing, and Madeline's like, "Who's calling? Who keeps calling?" It's obviously Helen. And he goes, "I can't keep having these interruptions," and he rips the phone out of the wall. It's so funny. And
he's wearing a Kiss the Cook apron too, which I think is just I love that choice. He's using the mannequin spray paint on her, and he's doing this the whole thing painting her up. Is then he comes downstairs because he needs some more because he's fucked up, right? Because she moved.
Yeah,
he needs more turpentine to
hold still. Yeah.
Yeah, and the highlights of your eyes are completely unbalanced. What do you want people to stare? I can't use kerosene because it'll affect the skin. And so he's trying to figure this out, and then Goldie Hawn is just standing there in this bizarre disguise again, right? She's got her face covered with
she's a master
shawl.
of disguise. Yeah, yeah.
and
he's like, "Who are you?" Yeah, and then she pulls it off.
Pulls it off.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Helen! What is that on your hands? Paint. It's
what were you doing? Painting.
What would you be doing that you have paint on your hands? Painting. Ernest,
Are you doing something funny with Madeline? Define funny. And so like why are you whispering? Like, because she's resting and in a foul mood. And it's like she's resting. She's not resting. She's dead, Ernest, just like we wanted. Remember, like, you may have done it alone, but I can't walk away now. Not after you put us both in jeopardy. We'll have to bury her in Death Valley and be done with it once for all. Like, it's just choosing Death Valley there is just a nice little detail. You love it. Gotta love it.
And when I like because she comes to the top of the stairs and we see her hand on the pillar, right? It's like this really great shot where like the right third of the frame is taken up by just Madeline's hand
and like the post.
Yeah, and then we're watching the conversation play out from the balcony, and Helen has her speech. She says she was a homewrecker, she was a man-eater, and she was a bad actress. And that's the part that like drives her nuts, where she like starts clawing down the banister.
Yeah, and like peeling the wood with her nails. Yeah. But like, she was, she stopped waffling. She deserved it. She was a homewrecker. She was a man-eater. She doesn't claw up the wood at any of those parts. And then she says, and she was a bad actress. And then she's like, oh, I'm so mad. And then basically she just like comes down the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, and they call each other Mad and Hell, which is just a fun little goofy detail. And it's like, darling, what have you two been plotting down here? Or should I say, what else?
I see a very bad situation developing, and then she's got one of the shotguns from earlier.
Yeah, she's grabbed one of the shotguns, and then she points it at Helen, and she's like, I just want you to know one thing, Hel. You brought this on yourself. And then she blasts Helen with a shotgun, sends her flying through the air on wires into a giant fountain in the back, like, courtyard area. With, blood everywhere in the fountain, and she presumed dead. She's like, "What have you done?"
He says,
what
she's
have I
dead.
done?
She's like, she is. Oh, these are the moments that make life worth living.
It's like I'm gonna call the police. Like, what are they gonna do? Put me in the gas chamber? Big deal. Life in prison. You know what they do to it. You know what that means to a person in your condition. And he's like, oh, so negative. Let me enjoy the moment. And then basically she threatens him, and she's like, you know what? If you tell anyone what I did, or like that I'm actually dead, or that I killed her, I'm going to. Well, basically, if you tell anyone that I killed Helen, I'm going to play dead and frame you for murder.
Yes.
So, and like, I can do it. I can convince everyone I'm dead. And and then you'll be sent to prison. And there's a funny line where he says, like, it's the old hat joke about like male rape in prison, but there's an added little like extra layer on it that makes it kind of funny again for me. It's like, what will you tell them? You're going to be very popular in prison. He's like, prison? He says, prison. Do you know what they do to soft, bald, overweight Republicans in prison, Ernest? And he's like, I'll get the shovels, dear.
And then as they he's laying out the tarp, and she's like picking through stuff, like her stuff, and he's just like, are you gonna help me? She's like, of course, I'm happy to help. I'm happy. Of course, I'm happy to help. Yeah. And as they're doing this, she stands up, and like all the water like pours out of her body, and like
I think I'm gonna show an image of that, of what Goldie Hawn. This is one of the few images that they actually managed to put on Shot Deck of Goldie Hawn standing up out of the fountain with the giant. And that special effect looks great. It looks really good. And
the contacts in her eyes look great too. Like, I mean, it's pretty incredible. Like, the one thing that all of the reviews from the time praised was the special effects. So
and they're impressive even by today's standards,
I
would say. But especially when you consider when it came out, because like 92, like that hole in her stomach looks really good. And like consistently you can see through it. Like there are shots where you can see Meryl Streep's face and Bruce Willis's face through it. Like a lot of great, they get all your money's worth out of a giant hole in a woman's stomach, and it's great because like obviously, does a shotgun do that to a person? No, but it's really funny.
Yeah. And so this is where it's revealed, right? That
yes, of course.
Helen has also.
It's not exactly a huge surprise ultimately, but it is the reveal that Helen has also taken that same potion.
Yes, and this leads. So we talked earlier about the fight.
Wait, sorry, really quick. She gets a great one-liner as soon as she stands up, right? And she says that was totally uncalled for. Anyway, so yeah, fight with the shovels.
Yeah, this leads into the big fight with the shovels and like that, which we discussed, and their realization that like really. The lesson to be learned here for them is that it's not about being petty to one another. It's just about being beautiful and living forever. That's the meaning of life. That's what they should be. Why should we be fighting like this when we could just be beautiful and we have what we want? We could just be beautiful and happy forever.
Yeah, exactly. They admit to each other that they have actually been especially petty and vindictive and jealous and envious of each other all these years, and that they've been doing it on purpose. And once they've had it out, they're like, you know what? Actually, maybe we're just friends, and maybe this is fine. We can just be young and beautiful forever. Yay, we did it. Oh, there's a really great moment that Ernest has right after that. I'm trying to remember what it was.
This is when he goes into goes into the room and he's like he's getting his dartboard. The only thing that he comes to claim, right, is his dartboard, which is kind of fun too because like he's been missing it with the scalpel. He's been practicing throwing scalpels at his dartboard and he's been missing. So he takes the dartboard down and there's just this like all these like little holes in the wall, and right in the middle is a big space of unmolested drywall, basically, which is kind of fun because it kind of reflects the hole in Goldie Hawn's stomach. It's in an interesting way.
Cecil Lawrenson says, "Don't forget the awesome spear toss right through the hole." Yes, there's a great moment where Madeline throws like a spear off the wall at trying to hit Ellen, and it goes directly.
No, she breaks the shovel. She breaks the shovel and it breaks into a point, so she tries to throw it and it goes right through. And she goes like, yes!
Yeah.
Oh! And then she gets like bashed in the head by the shovel. So she like accordions down.
Yes. And so Ernest is like, you know what? I wanted to tell you both that I've come to a decision that's very important and long overdue. I'm leaving. He's such a wet blanket. It's so funny. And they're like, no, you can't leave. Like, basically, they're like, no, we need you because you're an incredibly gifted mortician and plastic surgeon. We're going to need you to fix us, for one, and then, like, keep us, looking beautiful forever because we're dead bodies, right? So the fact that he's a plastic surgeon and a mortician just seamlessly factors in to the story at, like, every level, thematically and literally and, procedurally. It's great. And they're like, you know what? And they're like, Hell needs work and Maddie needs work too. You can go first. Oh, that's so sweet of you. They're such like fake best friends now, even though they're just trying to kill each other.
Yeah. And like, so he does it. He fixes her, right? Makes it look perfect. Yeah. But then part of the paint starts to chip and peel off. And Madeline peels it off, and then they have this realization, like, wait a minute, what are we gonna do? Like he said he's leaving, but what is he gonna come back to do? Touch-ups? Like, what happens if it rains? What happens if it, like, we have to hide this, right? We need him, and she's like, will he come back for touch-ups? Because, well,
even worse, like, he's not gonna live forever. Once he dies, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Because he's the genius, he's the artist when it comes to this sort of thing, and it's like, will he even want us? Like, even if he does want to help us, will he help us forever? I know what we need to do. We need to make sure he gets the potion so he can live forever. And so, like, these two women are horrible, 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 horrible people.
Yes.
And they're like, maybe we can force him to live forever to be our slave, essentially, and to provide
to
us
provide us with
upkeep.
the beauty upkeep that we absolutely need in order to
Mhm.
so yeah, that's the resolution that they come to, right? Is that like it's all about the moving forward but staying beautiful forever, right? So they
Yeah.
decide to do that, and they
Their plan
try.
is to drug him. They try to put some of the Narcanol or whatever, so that's a setup that comes back.
Yeah,
They try to drug him. They give him his breakfast, which is just like
a giant
alcohol.
fucking cup of whiskey.
Yes. And and he's like, when he's like packing up his things to leave, he's making his it's his big speech, but he's such a wet blanket about it, and he's such a coward about it. And he's like, but he's kind of in hysterics to a degree, and he's like whipping the glass around and spilling it. And they're like, oh no, like he keeps spilling the glass that we're trying to poison him with. And so there's finally a tiny, tiny bit of alcohol left. And he's like about to drink it. And he's like, you know what? It's like, and I've realized something. I drink too much, and he pours the rest of the drink out.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
he goes to so that then they take.
oh, really quick, there's a great. Sorry, this is such a great line where he's like, okay, a bit of his speech, because his speech is really, really good. He says, "Do you know what they call someone who sticks by their word no matter what, at the cost of all else? Do you know? An idiot. From now on, I'm going to be the kind of idiot I want to be, an idiot with a modicum of pride. Because you know what? I finally realized something. I've lived up to my promise. Till death do us part. Well, you girls are dead, and I'm parting." But it's fun.
Yeah, it's really good.
And he does something else. I drink too much, and he pours the rest of the drink out, so he doesn't take the poison. And so they hit him over the head with a shovel. And so they
Well,
hit
they
him
hit
over
him
the
over the
head
head
with
with
a
some
shovel.
vases, and then they
Oh,
stop
it's
him
amazing.
from
Cool.
falling down the stairs, and he wakes up
Oh,
in a swimming pool area.
I'm so sorry to stop you again, because but there are so many great moments. Like Bruce, this is why this is one of my favorite Bruce Willis like comedic performances of all time. They hit him over the head with a vase, and he goes, "What?" So anyway, they knock him out, and he wakes up, and he's like on a bed, or like a poolside lounger chair, and he's like looking up, and it's like a stained glass window of
Like
that the
a
famous bit of the
rendition of the
ceiling.
Sistine Chapel ceiling, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And it's, like God or whoever that's supposed to be reaching towards Adam. And then he like looks down, and then the camera sort of tilts down, and we see Isabella Rossellini swimming naked in the pool. And he's like, what? And it's like, I hope you don't mind that Harry and Dick had to dress you. You were improperly attired for the occasion. He's like, what occasion? He's like, I'm throwing a party upstairs. I throw one every spring for my clients. And he's like, okay, what do you want with me? And it's like, I want to give you a present, the gift of life and youth forever, you know? And so she offers him the potion, right? She demonstrates the same thing. She pricks his hand, and then mixes it in with the potion and touches it back on his skin, and it makes not only this. It's a great little detail, because it's not just about youth and beauty, right? It's also about reclaiming what used to give him a lot of pride, right? Which was his work as a plastic surgeon. Which, remember, he is not anymore, because his hands shake too much, because he's an alcoholic and he's getting older, right? So she touches his hand with the potion, and that causes all the wrinkles on his hand to go away, but it also causes it to stop shaking. And there's a great shot where they show the two hands side by side. One of them is old and wrinkly and shaking, and the other one isn't. And he's like, okay, thank you. Like that's enough to get him in at first. And then and then she goes on a long speech where she's like, like, this is what you've always done. Stop time in people's faces and in their hands. You're like Don Quixote tilting at nature's windmill, right? Like trying to
Did we
flatter
talk, by the
him.
way, real quick, about how she gets out of the pool because she was swimming backstrokes in the pool, and she gets out and she's wearing high heels, and then she puts on one covering, like like a scarf to cover her, and then one of her manservants brings her not a towel. I don't think it doesn't look like a towel really. Oh no, it is a towel. Brings her a towel, and then she immediately takes it off again and just starts walking over to him, and he brings another dress to put,
Yeah.
like, so she's just going through costume change after costume change. And she's got them all just standing by at the pool to do this for her. And one of them is wearing, like, one of them's wearing a tuxedo, but also his, like, weightlifter belt, right? Like, he's wearing that.
Yeah.
And then the other guy standing behind him is wearing a weightlifter belt and every part of a tuxedo but the shirt.
Gotta show off those abs, man.
It's so funny. It's
great.
God.
So she's flattering him, talking about, like, this is the gift that you give to other people. You stop time and aging for them, and you're a genius. You're a master at it. And so, like, this is the completion of your life's work. Drink the potion. You give other people youth and wasted your own. You'll be able to work again forever. You owe yourself another chance. Drink, all that sort of stuff. Make the right choice. The only choice. And, like, the tension is building. The music is swelling. Like, there's wind blowing Isabella Rossellini's hair for no reason, even though they're inside, just to add to the energy of it. Saying, drink, siempre viva, all that, live forever. And then he goes, then what? It's like, huh? Like, then what happens? What? Like, I don't want to live forever. It sounds good, but what am I going to do? What if I get bored? She's like, she just can't fathom that he would object to this. He's like, and what if I get lonely? Who am I going to hang around with? Madeline and Helen? What if something happens to me? What if I get maimed? What if I get shot? What if somebody pushes me down? What if I fall down a flight of stairs or something? And she's like, but you never grow old. And he's like, yeah, but everyone else will. I'll have to watch everyone around me die. I don't think this is right. This is not a dream. This is a nightmare. Right? So that's a very important moment, right?
Yes.
Where we this is Ernest finally, like, he's been trying to stand up for himself in some of these scenes past, but, like, really rather meekly, right? But this is his opportunity where it's like, oh, this is a pretty good deal for him, at least on the surface, right? It gives him back a lot of what he lost in his life in this horrible relationship and, to alcoholism and all that sort of stuff. And he says no. And because he's the bigger man, he's like, no, this is a nightmare.
Although, as Kevo rightfully points out, he's being a little short-sighted because he could be hanging out with Elvis, and that would be pretty bitchin'.
That would be pretty cool.
We're going to see Marilyn Monroe and James Dean and, like, all these other, like, famous people. Although
Kevo earlier said living forever would suck so hard. Yeah, that's true, and that's sort of the message of the movie. It's quite good, actually.
If this were a Tim Burton movie, this is where he'd take the potion and open a mortuary or beauty parlor. Yeah, maybe. I think if this was a Tim Burton movie, actually, it would come a little bit later when he's dangling off the roof. Like, the entreaties to drink the potion so that you survive if you fall would work, and then he would, open up, Dr. Frankenwiener's mortuary and plastic surgery, and he would, like, that's where the Tim Burton version would go. Yeah,
I think so. I think there's definitely a slightly more cynicalness to a lot of Tim Burton's movies, even though they're very similar to this. I think this one is a bit more wholesome, if you can. I mean, wholesome is a weird word to describe this movie, but, like, I think there is something quite wholesome about, like, how this movie ends, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Tom, Dick, and Harry, her henchmen.
Tom, Dick, and Harry, or the name of her henchmen, and so she's like, Tom, Dick, Harry, get the potion from him. So they go chasing after him, right? He gets chased by the dogs and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I really like that, like, because how he escapes from them, right? Is so this is actually, like, at first when I saw it, I was like, what? Like, that's a little thin, right? Because he's been practicing throwing his scalpel at his dartboard and he always misses, right? But I just realized as I was, like, scrolling back through it that the reason that he's able to act, so he picks up the knife that keeps the box closed, but he picks it up with the hand that she revived, so it's got its younger
one that doesn't take.
Yeah, and so he's able to wing the knife at a power box and turn the lights off, which I guess causes enough of a distraction for him to make it out.
Yeah. It's a nice detail. They thought about all the details in this movie, man.
Yeah.
Like you're in good hands, you know what I mean, narratively speaking. So eventually he finds his way into the ballroom where everyone has been gathered for the party, and like you said, we see all this people. There's a fun little gag where it says the weirdo who was also at the plastic surgery clinic is like, first I must remind all of you who staged your own deaths of our very strict policy against popping into public to grab a few headlines. I won't name names, but you know who you are. And it cuts to Elvis. And he's like, I was just trying to have some fun. That's all. Like,
Yeah. I was just trying to
it's
have a
goofy.
little fun, man. That's all. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. And so Helen and Madeline see Ernest and they're like, oh God, he still looks like hell. Clearly hasn't taken the potion. And they're like, oh shit, he still has it. And so then they go chasing after him, right? And then they're like, seal the room. And, but he manages to escape and he goes running, big chase. Eventually he ends up on the roof of this giant Gothic mansion. He's trying to escape. He's trying to climb away. And then like he ends up in a rather elaborate way. He ends up like with his suspenders
caught like on a
onto a gutter.
Yeah.
That like actually pivots off the wall as he's attached to it and causes him to like dangle directly hundreds of feet above the ground. And they're like, Ernest, take the potion. It's the only way you'll survive the fall. Drink it, or you'll die. After the fall, you can put yourself back together again. But like you have to drink it. And they're getting more and more angry with him because they don't give a shit about him at all, right?
Yeah.
So like what starts off as genuine pleading just devolves into like angry, like, God damn it, you have to. We need you. He says, I'm sorry, dears, you're on your own. And so,
he drops the potion, and at the same time, his suspenders rip, and he falls. But he falls through the stained glass window and into the pool.
Yes.
And this is one of the jokes that didn't quite land for me. Was like he falls into the pool and he sputters out, and then there's a guy who looks like a 90s Russell Brand waiting there with a woman who's undressing, and he's just like, so are you gonna be done soon or what? And
says, yes, I'm gonna be done very soon.
Oh yes, I'm gonna be done very soon. He gets up and he just kind of walks out basically, and the guy goes, like he watches him. Russell Brand watches him leave, turns to the woman who's with him and goes, well, that was pretty neat. Like,
that's not one of the better jokes.
That one actually really, that's a real stinker. That's not
it's good. A stinker. It's a stinker. That's for sure. It doesn't need to be there at all. Like one of the minor criticisms I have of this movie is that it's like a little too long. Like it's only an hour and 44 minutes, but like for the story, it like most of the movie has a pretty solid, relentless, in a good way, pace to it. And then there are just a few scenes that are they just go on a little longer than are necessary. Like we could have cut some of that dialogue. It wasn't necessary. This is one of those moments I didn't need to see. Like all we need to see is that he miraculously survived the fall because he kind of hit something on the way down that sort of stopped his fall, but he broke through it and then landed in the pool and managed to not die completely. That's all we needed to see. This little gag with the people who are going to, I guess, like skinny dip and fool around in the pool. It's awkward. It's not really funny though. It's not really clever.
And so then they are told by Isabella Rossellini, the Mad and Helen are told that it would be better for them to bring him back. And they start peeling as they get home, right? And this is another part that I think it confused me a little bit, and I wonder what you make of it, right? Because they start peeling and they start having a problem. They're like, oh, we're peeling. We can't go back to Liesel's. She specifically told us to take care of our bodies, and now look at us, we're dead. So they're sort of implying that Liesel doesn't know, right?
Yeah.
But she's giving him the potion. Is it because of her respect for him as a plastic surgeon? I thought it was because of her, her respect for him as a plastic surgeon, but, like, she would have known that he had been slaving away as a mortician for a while, right? And so that she was like, these two came to her. What did they say to convince her that he deserved the potion?
I don't know. It doesn't bother me that we don't know, but it could have been interesting to know.
The
Like
only thing
I think
that I just question a bit about it, right, is like I guess I just sort of assumed that Liesel knew they were dead, and
oh,
and
no, she definitely doesn't.
yeah, it's because like the reason that they would have to convince her to give him, like, they go to convince her to give him the potion because they need him to keep them looking young, or like, well, yeah, that's really it,
One
right? It's like,
assumes
yeah,
that like, oh, I think he would really want the potion, and I think he deserves it, and
yeah,
yada yada, and he can pay whatever else. And I think obviously based on her speech to him, she gives no indication that like Madeline and Helen wanted this for him. She just kind of, she admires him a lot,
yeah,
and like is trying to sell him on like, you've done so much for other people, but you waste, like she feels in her own way compassion for his suffering and feels if anyone deserves it, he does. It's kind of how she looks at it, it seems, right?
yeah,
So yeah, I don't know how they sold it to her, but probably along those lines, one has to imagine.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
but yeah, Liesel does not know that they're dead, and they can't reveal that to her, or they don't want to reveal that to her either way. It's so embarrassing, is what they say. And it's like, you know what this is? This is simply a question of maintenance. This is upkeep. We just have to be very careful with ourselves. We just have to take care of each other. And then they're like, I'll paint your ass, you paint mine. Who could have imagined? Yeah, ha 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 ha. You and me together. Yeah, I know. Ha ha. Depending on each other. Ha ha. Painting each other's asses. Ha ha. Day and night, forever. And they're just laughing and laughing, and they say forever. And
And
then
then
and then
it cuts to 37 years later.
yeah. So this is where the ending differs from the original ending. I will briefly mention what the original ending was, and then you, fine people in the audience, can help us decide whether the original ending is better or not. Because Goldie Hawn, I know, I watched an interview clip with her where she talked about the original ending that she thinks is better. So we'll lay them both out, but we're gonna lay out the original one first. So when they jump ahead, they're somewhere in Switzerland or whatever. Um, Ernest is with his new wife that he remarried after dealing with the two of them. They had a happy life together with kids or whatever is sort of implied. They're like in their 80s or 90s now. They're in some beautiful area in Switzerland. They're holding hands on a bench or whatever. And Madeline and Helen see them. They're like watching from a distance, and they look the same. So importantly, I'm going to plant this flag here. In this version, they don't look like they've done a bad job of maintaining themselves. They just look normal, right? And they're like watching them and like, don't you feel sorry for them that like they're about to die or whatever? They can't live forever like us. They're sort of pitying them. And according to Goldie Hawn, there's a moment where Madeline is like, don't you just pity them? And then she looks at them and sees how happy they are, and she says that like, yeah, she says yeah, but means no, essentially. That like there's a little moment right at the very end where Goldie Hawn's character, like, there's a little realization that like, man, he seems like he's actually happy and we're not. And then the conversation turns to like, oh, like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do now? Like, and she's like, I don't know. What do you want to do now? It's like, do you want to go to Paris? And she's like, ugh, again? Like, and like, that's the sort of joke, right? That
Yeah.
they're bored. They've done everything. They hate each other. They don't even like spending time with each other. They don't have any real friends or real connections that give their life meaning and everything like that. And so it ends kind of on a note of like, yeah, they think they won, but they didn't, because they're miserable and they're going to live forever in misery, essentially. That's how that ends. And according to Goldie Hawn, that ending did not test well. She said that like it didn't have the same sort of like fun, goofy punch that the rest of the movie had, that it ended on more of like a somber note that audiences didn't really fit. And and so they decided to change it, right? And the way Goldie Hawn puts it, like, this is a travesty, that she likes this ending better. I think partially it's because her character gets a little redemption. I think that's part of why she likes it more. But also she seems to think that this is more meaningful than the real ending, which I think I disagree, but we're going to lay it out.
Yeah,
So
I would
we jump ahead.
probably on that. Yeah.
The like, oh, Paris again, like that's a funny joke, but you'll see why I think this ending is actually quite a bit more meaningful, right? So we jump ahead 37 years into the future, and we're at the funeral for Ernest. He has died of old man, of old man, of old
He has
age.
died of old man. Yes.
We're gathered here today to honor the passing of a man of courage and vision, and like it's a very well attended funeral as well. That's worth mentioning. Now, Dr. Ernest Menville always felt life begins at 50. And since we know so little of Ernest before that age, perhaps in this case it's really true. Because it wasn't until 50 he met his lovely wife, Claire, and he had 2 sons and 4 daughters. And then, like a biblical patriarch, began to spread his message of hope to his adopted children all around the world. And as he sang that, the camera is slowly turning around to see how many people there at the funeral. A brilliant academic as well as a rugged outdoorsman, Dr. Menville pursued with vigor a variety of pursuits, not just to attain some personal ambition, but to enhance the world for us and to make it a better place than he found it. And then we reveal, sitting in the back of the church with like black veils over their faces, are Madeline and Helen, and they're like faking that they're sad, right? And they're kind of laughing and mocking his funeral, right, in a rather vindictive way. But they have veils over their faces to hide themselves, right? And so the priest continues, and he says, to make the world a better place than he found it. Oh, and that he did. The Menville Marriage Counseling Clinic, the Menville Center for the Study of Women. So funny. So funny. And of course, Ernest's AA chapter will carry on long after his death. And then they're like, like he continues, like, who among us has never known Ernest the prankster, Ernest the storyteller? We've all heard his tall tales of the living dead in Beverly Hills. And they're like, and so they're in the background. They're like, you're not crying, are you? It's like, I have something in my eye. And it's like, ugh. Like, do you have that number 1 acrylic or whatever? Like, because their paint's peeling or whatever. And they're arguing loudly with each other in the back of the church in the middle of the funeral, right? And they're like, oh, I must have dropped it somewhere. No, I put it in your bag. They're bickering. They're not happy. Same sort of vibe as the other one in terms of the fact that they're not happy, right? But I love everything to do with what the priest is saying. It continues. He says, well, first, like, they're about to head out because they're like, oh, I think I left the paint in the car. So let's go back to the car. Let's get the hell out of here. And then the priest continues. He says, I, for one, honestly believe this teacher, this benefactor, this man had in his own way learned the secret of eternal life. And that stops them in their tracks. And he says, it's here among us in the hearts of his friends, and the secret of eternal youth right here in the lives of his children and his grandchildren. It is my opinion that our beloved Ernest is one man who will indeed live forever. Right? So there's the message of the movie, right? And then we cut to Madeline. She goes, blah, 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 whatever. And then they walk out, right?
Yeah.
So there's a final little silly gag at the end of this that we'll get to in a second. But basically, that's the heart of the ending, right? I think that's way better than the one Goldie Hawn is really sad that they cut. I think this is way better. First of all, it's a really funny joke, actually, that Ernest actually did turn his life around at age 50 and become essentially the best guy ever. That's so funny. And like, yeah. It's fun for that character that he does it, but it's so over the top and ridiculous that like he basically has like a religious conversion and becomes the most kind, generous, like prolifically kind and generous person in the world, right? He's an academic and a philanthropist and a rugged outdoorsman. There's a picture that sort of looks like he climbed Everest. All this stuff. He starts like a local AA chapter, a rehab facility, a center for the study of women, essentially to figure out why they're all like that. It's really funny. It's really funny and keeps with the general whimsical, over the top and ridiculous tone of the rest of the film. Like someone mentioned in the chat not too long ago, like how ridiculous it was that he survives that fall. And it's like, yeah, there's kind of cartoon logic to the physics sometimes, because it's a very sort of cartoonish, over the top, ridiculous movie. And so that his life not only turns around and gets better, but gets so comedically better is very, very funny. And so the guy, basically the guy says, like, well, first of all, Ernest, in the scene with Isabella Rossellini, he rejects like literal eternal, like immortality, right? He's like, it sounds like a nightmare. What I'm going to do, hang out with them, watch everyone in my family die? Like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that. Which is a great character moment for him. But at the end, we basically learn from the priest, the message of the movie is that, like, if you build relationships with people and you do good works in the world and people remember you forever and pass on your legacy for generations, like, that is better. That is a better type of immortality and eternal life than anything you witches got with your little magic spell, right?
Yeah.
And so that's presented to them as like the real message of the movie, and they go, yeah, whatever. Fuck you. And then they walk away. That's funny, and there's a heart to it, and keeps up the general whimsical tone of the film. I don't know about you. I don't know if anyone in the audience thinks the original ending is better, but I am not convinced at all.
Nah, I'm not. I'm siding with the new ending. Not Goldie Hawn this time. I think that's what, I think I agree, Kevin. That's what makes it so powerful, right? Is that he achieved a form of immortality that actually has some potency behind it, right? Like he it's not just because he's literally immortal. It's because his legacy is going to live on through the lives that he changed, right? And the fact that they don't understand that.
Yeah, and the good institutions and things that he created and built that'll be passed on for generations, and and everyone will remember him as an amazing guy, Yeah.
Who turned his life around at 50, right? Who started his life at 50 years old and managed to achieve all this, It's
There's even a little great detail where the priest calls him like the biblical patriarchs of old, because Abraham was like that as well. Like, I think, isn't he implied? I don't remember the exact number. People that are more familiar with the Bible than me will remember. He's like 70.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a ridiculous age that Abraham goes at. Like, God's like, all right, you lived this long, it's time to go out and go on this adventure and everything like that. So they comparing him in that way, that you can do these things at any point, is another nice little message. Like, obviously it's over the top how cartoonishly impressive and amazing his life beyond 50 is, but that's just part of the general goofiness of the film. You know what I mean? I think it'd be more saccharine if it was subtle. You know what I mean? I like how unsubtle it is, especially for a movie like this.
Agreed.
Why not both endings? Because
the movies only end once.
Yes.
Duh.
Honestly, I don't know. I think both scenes would accomplish several of the same beats.
Yeah.
And drag on an ending that is already dragging a little bit. Because there's even another little scene after the blah 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 and they leave, right? And this is a scene that's just basically a little end note, a little cherry on the sundae in terms of gags and stuff like that. But even this scene, I think, is a little unnecessary. Like, it goes on a little long. Personally, they do a little too much yapping. Anyway, so they leave the church, and they're they're talking about their paint cans, and they're looking at each other. We look ridiculous or whatever. And they lift up their veils, and we see that they've done a rather poor job of maintenance, right? Like, their makeup doesn't look especially good. But I mean, that is set up when earlier in the movie he's talking about putting makeup on dead skin is very different than putting makeup on live skin. You have to have a certain, artistic competence and sensibility that Ernest has that they don't, right? So they haven't done a good job, which is why they wear veils all the time, and they don't seem to be happy with each other. They're still bickering and all that stuff. It's like, where'd you see the paint? I thought it was in your purse. Oh, where'd you see it last? Blah 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 blah. They're arguing with each other, and then right as they're on the top of the stairs, they start to get into a little fight, and that it almost sends them it sends Madeline, right, almost careening off the stairs, or is it the other way around? Either way,
they both end up taking a tumble down the stairs and they shatter into a
They
bunch of
shatter
pieces.
into a million pieces on the ground, and they're like they're just, it's gone. It's too late at this point. And then, but their heads roll kind of next to each other, and they can still talk. And so there's two heads laying on the ground amidst all the other body parts. And Helen says, "Do you remember where you parked the car?" Then it cuts to
Then it
black.
cuts to black and it ends. Yep, and that's the movie.
And that's the end. I think the scene in the church is like legitimately really, really good. And this final little bit on the stairs is like fine. It's fine. It works, but it's not amazing, I don't think. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think it would have been fine to end it with her walking out and going blah blah blah.
Yes, that's what I would say too. I think that's a better place to end it.
Oh, they trip on the spray paint can. Yeah, they trip on the spray paint can that they were looking for because somehow, yeah. So like, there's something there. Like it's a little bit like, oh, it's what they were looking for. They get what they wanted, but it it ends up causing a problem. I don't know. I think it's fine. It's a fine ending. The church bit is legitimately. I know you. I realize now that you were joking, Kevo, but I do think that the bit in the church is actually quite a powerful ending. And I think it really hammers home exactly why this movie is such an icon of queer culture.
Speaking of, Dave L said Isabella Rossellini's outfit was part of my gay awakening because my first thought was, how does that stay on, and not, I hope it falls off. That's a good joke. I like that. It would work better as a post-credit scene. Yeah, if anything, that little final thing. I mean, I don't like post-credit scenes, but it feels pretty unnecessary. And I like the whole big impactful emotional speech, hopeful and wholesome speech that the priest gives, immediately undercut by like blah blah blah, let's get out of here, and then they leave. And that, if it ended right there, I think that's just a stronger ending. Overall, I like I said before, like 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through this movie, I was like, I love this. And then by the end, I'm like, I really like it. There's some things in the end where just, there's a couple jokes that don't work towards the end. There's a couple moments where it's like, okay, where are we going exactly with the plot here? And a couple little scenes that are maybe a bit longer than they need to be. But overall, I think this is a rather criminally underrated movie. I think this is hysterical and very, very impressive technically in terms of the filmmaking. It's so much fucking fun. All the ways that they go about doing all these special effects and all these great camera moves and all these sets and costumes and fun performances. Acting's incredible. Like we mentioned before, shockingly symbolically coherent for as goofy and ridiculous as the film is. Yeah, it's a little gem, a little forgotten gem.
Absolutely. Forgotten, but I think it's going to get a lot more attention now that the musical is like cleaning up at the Tonys. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a musical version of the movie end up getting made, or a movie version of the musical end up getting made and pushed out to us. And I've heard
like
one
Mean
song,
Girls and Wicked and all those.
like Mean Girls and Wicked, or like I'm thinking more like Little Shop of Horrors, because that was a movie,
true,
like an old 50s movie before. And then it got turned into a musical, and then that musical got turned into a movie. I don't know if they would have that same level of, the musical sequel or remake eclipsing the original. I don't know if it's quite that, but I've heard one of the songs and it's fine. It's pretty well constructed. Yeah. It's the one where Madeline meets Ernest for the first time. And I thought it was, I was like, yeah, I can see exactly how this lends itself to becoming that kind of a musical. I'm curious whether or not they, how they stuck to everything, considering.
Yeah. I
Oh,
It would be a
Hairspray is
shame.
another one. Hairspray is another one, Dave. Good call. Yeah.
It would be a shame if they made this into like another popular movie, because I think there's nothing really wrong with this movie at all, and this movie could just have a resurgence.
Yeah,
in
that'd be
popular
nice.
imagination. That'd be great. Because the other thing is, like, as much as I do really like the story and the dialogue and the performances and all that stuff, how this is filmed, like the cinematography and the editing, all the like how this is made into a feature film is a huge part of why it's so good.
Yeah.
Huge part. Just it's so fun. Like I just feel like so much would be missing when you lose like all these crazy wide angles and these great camera moves and these Dutch angles and these Texas switches and all these crazy stunts and fun editing where we hard cut from one thing to the same thing being said 7 years later. Stuff like that you just can't really do as well in a play or a musical format. I don't know. I just feel like you'd lose a lot.
Yeah.
That's just how it seems to me, because I just think this is a capital M movie, TM, and I think it should be appreciated as such.
I agree.
Cinematology? What's that? Is that is that all the actors in Hollywood that are Scientologists?
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's the movie. That's Death Becomes Her.
Her. Really quick, shout out to how good of a title that is.
Yeah.
That's a great title.
Could have been called The Substance, and they chose not to. And I'm, you know what? Good.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really fun movie. I'm glad we watched it, because I don't think I would have otherwise. So, unless you had anything else to say about Death Becomes Her, one thing I wanted to mention. Yeah, easy recommend. Even after hearing all of this, you should still go out and check it out. Why don't you go check it out? I wanted to mention briefly that we are probably not going to be doing a stream about One Battle After Another, but because I'm not going to make Hugh watch it. but I am making a video on it. So if you've seen me arguing with people about it on Twitter and crusading against this fucking stupid movie, I will have more to say about One Battle After Another in an edited video on the channel in due time. No stream on it, but you'll get a video, and that's even better. Do we know what we're going to talk about next week?
We do not.
Okay.
We do not, Jamie. We'll figure something out. Yeah.
We'll figure that out, and I'll mention it on Twitter in case it's something that people need warning before. I think there's a couple movies coming out soon that I'm actually kind of interested in seeing. So maybe we'll talk about a new movie. Who knows? But I'm not going to make you watch One Battle After Another.
I appreciate that.
I don't think you'll like it.
No, it's based on what you've told me and what I've heard. I'm quite sure I won't.
Yeah, so you'll get plenty more content on One Battle After Another. Devs Becomes Her. And that is also on the docket. More devs in the future coming your way.
More devs.
So
100 years, devs. Lily Chan, 100 years.
Jen asks, this is part of a themed like thing you're doing, right? So was there a themed dinner?
Yeah, there was a themed dinner, but it didn't. We kind of left it to the last minute because we've been a little busy this week. So we had a very nice dinner. We recreated the salad that Meryl Streep collapses into in the scene where she is poisoned with the
drugs. Yes.
Yeah. And other than that, we just had a black squid ink spaghetti with some meatballs, and there was I can't remember what the purpose of that was, but it was good. So
yeah, because fuck it, why not, right? Kevo says Low Res Wonder Bread is getting so much heat for hating that movie. I don't know who that is. Low Res Wonder Bread.
Never heard of that.
Low Res Wonder Bread. Okay. I have not heard of this channel. Low res, one battle after another. The worst movie of 2025. Well,
He could be right about that.
not in terms of how the film is actually made and constructed, but maybe morally. Perhaps. It's up there. It's up there. Don't worry, we'll talk all about that another time. Another draw from the Spooky Bingo Pot for next week.
I might be able to arrange that real quick. Let me see what we can get going.
Well, do you want to talk? I think yeah. It's spooky. It's Spooktober. It's Halloween.
We could do another one. Yeah.
Let's do another horror movie. What do you want to talk?
Give me 1 second, and you entertain the people for a second. I'll go get that all set up.
Entertain? Is that what we do? Well, if I find people in the chat, are we supposed to be entertaining? Is that what's happening here? I like the image of the puppy's face on Isabella Rossellini. I can't believe they cut the stream down for showing the trailer. That's ridiculous. That's insane. For a movie that no one even watches or talks about. Come on, guys. Cut us some slack. Don't be a bunch of boners. No, see, exactly. Yeah, we're not entertaining. Dance for us. I'm dancing. You can't see it, but I'm dancing. Ooh, ooh. It was some good dancing too. It's a shame you couldn't see it.
Okay, we are gonna do a draw. We'll pick. There are 2 left, so we got a 50-50 shot of whatever.
50-50 shot of what?
I don't know. Whatever. 50-50.
So Nikki, your girlfriend, originally, sent a message to me being like, "Hey, we want to do this thing where we're drawing these random movies to watch. I'm going to do like a dinner themed with it. But they could also double up with movies you cover on the stream. So like, I want you to like approve all of them, either movies I have seen and think would be good to talk about or movies that I've been meaning to see. And then, but I don't remember what any of these are. So I'm excited.
All we know is that you said cool to all of them. So we are good. All right, here we go. Drum roll. We're going with the right one. Oh boy, this will be great. Eraserhead is the next. Beautiful.
Eraserhead by David Lynch. All right. Have you seen Eraserhead?
I have, but it's been a really long time.
Same here. I have, but it's been a very long time. So, yeah, I guess next week we'll be talking about another spooky movie. Eraserhead.
A David Lynch classic. R.I.P. R.I.P. my man. This will be good because I'd like to revisit this. I've been revisiting Twin Peaks recently, and that's been a lot of fun to go back over the first 2 seasons. I'm not going back over the return. It's not happening.
Nor should you. Nor should you. That'll be fun. We'll talk about Eraserhead next week. So go check it out if you haven't seen it, or give it a rewatch if you have, and join us for that. We'll see you next time, folks.
Good luck with the Eraserhead themed dinner. If you want to know what it's meatball heads on mashed potatoes with a quail topped side salad is the list. So
not the little puppet chickens.
Quail and chicken kind of look the same.
Where you cut into them and fair enough.
Like they're birds.
Yes.
And all right. Way we can each eat one whole thing. All right.
That's it.
That's it. Go home.
That's all we got.
Get out of here.
Go home. Go away now. Have a good Sunday. And we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye, friends.
Bye.
Toodaloo.